Harvey, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Wait a minute, Ruben's telling us what to do.
Yeah, so right now this microphone.
Okay.
Check your way. If anyone has any trouble here.
So the blinking is muted.
Yes. Okay, sure. Speaker guy. Do you need any input on that? Sound comes out here. Here, noise goes in here. No, I got it. Once again.
She needs to know it's going to get full discussed. All right, are you ready, Tony?
Yes, I am.
Am I ready? Good evening, everyone. I'd like to go ahead and call the school board meeting for Tuesday, October 5th to order. Thank you all for being here tonight. We're glad to see you. If you would, please silence your cell phones throughout the meeting. Checking none. We begin each meeting with an invocation. Tonight's meeting will be led by Pastor Abraham Cologne from the Living Water Fellowship Church. That'll be followed by our Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Michelle Hinger, from Director of Middle School K-8 Curriculum. Our national anthem tonight will be performed from the students from the Tubman Choir under the direction of Janelle Burge. Our mission statement will be read by Felisa Lewis, our business partner coordinator. Translation service by Dr. Listinia Venezuela, our executive director for multicultural. If you would please rise for me, Pastor Abraham.
I'd like to say something. It is indeed an honor to be here in the great words of the Apostle Paul when he told us in Philippians 4:13 that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I believe in those words, and I believe that as you gather here today to air out your grievances and the procedures that you want, that fully understand that God is in control and you can do anything as long as He's in control. Amen? Amen. Think about our heads. Heavenly Father, we just come before the throne of grace, Lord. We understand that these are civic responsibilities, Lord, that must come to pass. But I pray, Lord, that you give us understanding, that you give us the peace that surpasses all understanding, Lord, so that we may have mutual agreement and that we may have mutual understanding of each other's side, Lord Jesus. Set your agenda first, oh God, so that there's peace, so that we may understand, oh God, that there is a greater purpose for our children, for our families, than we can even imagine. So we just thank that this meeting is ordained by you and that it's protected by you. And I pray that the Holy Spirit shines His light upon everything and anything that happens here today. In the name of the Father, the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, and all will say, Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight? O'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting will say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave? O'er the land of the brave, and the home of the
The mission of Osceola County Schools is inspiring all learners to reach their highest potential as responsible, productive citizens.
Good evening, I'm Dr. Lastenia Peñalosa, and I'm here to provide translation services. Buenas noches, mi nombre es Lastenia Peñalosa, y estoy aquí para proveer servicios de traducción.
And before we get started with our board comments tonight, we have a new little microphone things up here. Can the people in the back row hear us tonight, or is it as bad as usual for some of y'all? So it's a little better? All right. Thank y'all, Reuben, and whoever figured this out. Hopefully it works. Now we begin with our board comments. I'll begin to my left with Mr. Melendez.
Mr. Burdette, want to come up here? A lot of times I give awards out to teachers and students, but I also want to acknowledge our staff that does a phenomenal job. Come on up here, Mr. Burdette. And Dr. Arnott's not here from CTE. One of our agenda items is to be creating a dual enrollment program with Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University.
Correct.
Let me say that again, Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. Thank you, Mr. Burdette. And I just want to let you know, when kids look at our programs and they look at dual enrollment, everyone thinks of Valencia Community College right away, but they can actually get credit at universities. I think we even have the University of Florida is another one, Embry-Riddle University.
UCF.
UCF is another one. But the thing about Embry-Riddle that's unique about this program, it's at Osceola High School, and we're taking advantage of the airport that we have. And so we have an ROTC program there, that's Air Force ROTC. We're trying to do a ground program. We're trying to do like aviation mechanics, and we're trying to get, I'm gonna try to get an airplane, darn it. I wanna try to get these kids flying, because Timber Creek University has a program where the kids get actually certified as a pilot before they leave. And so that's something I looked at with Mr. Burdette, and I talked to Dr. Arnott, and to actually see staff, work it every single day and make it come to fruition. I want to give you this little point here.
Thank you so much, I appreciate it.
But thanks again,
Thank
Mr.
you. I
Burdette.
appreciate it. Thanks.
I appreciate all you do. Oh, you want to say anything? Real quick?
No, I'm good, I'm good.
Hey, listen, I got one more. Are you sure? You can promote the program. Tell them the kids to sign up.
Well, I can tell you that we have 15 students in each period, and they are going to do the ROTC. We're really excited. We're going to interview a new aviation teacher, so we're going to combine those two programs, ROTC with CTE, so both of them will be able to get career technical credit from Embry-Riddle.
Thank you. All
Okay,
right, I think one more. That's it.
Ms. Castillo?
Yeah, I'm just really excited to go attend the junior breakfast tomorrow with our seniors. It's always the highlight of my year, so I'm looking forward to being in the presence of our top tier students and congratulating them on their next step. Thank you.
Mr. Aguayo?
Yeah, I would like to, I'll go this way, call up Mr. Inwood.
He's got props.
So, Mr. Inwood teaches at Poinciana High School. I've been very aware, you've seen, if you watch our stories, you'll see Mr. Inwood a lot of times because he's constantly donating stuff to the schools and mentoring the kids to a degree that is uncommon, even with the greatest teachers. It's a never-ending thing. He's a very humble man that he doesn't need to work for our schools. He does it literally as an act of service to us and to our kids, and for that I'm extremely appreciative. But he's not only an educator and a mentor, he's also a philanthropist. And so his organization, called New Start Thrift Store on Orange Blossom Trail, is donating two 40-foot containers, 8,000 pieces, units, of hand sanitizing wipes and disinfectant wipes for all of our teachers who pay for this normally out of their pocket. So it's a tremendous, imagine the expense of, that our teachers pay. Obviously, they pay a ton of stuff out of their own pocket. This is one less thing that they'll have to buy. Each teacher will get several of these canisters, and at the very least, we can have clean classrooms, very much so. Thank you so much, Mr. Inwood. You are the Teacher of the Month for District 3. Thank you very much. Thank you. Let me wait a little bit. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. And then I'll do the rest here. I didn't want to turn the school board meeting into a more of a circus than it can sometimes get. So what I've done is, for Student of the Month, I've decided to award all 48 students of the Poinciana High School Band who performed at the Puerto Rican Day Parade. And if you permit me, what I will do is read their names really quick. Amelia, Yasiel, Madison, Talaya, Ailani, Genesis, Alondra, Noresha, Yarielis, Leah, Hakeem, Valeria, Jonah, Richard, Christopher, Annalie, Karina, Samara, King, Hiram, Andrew, Christian, Evanseli, Thornton, Maritza, Carla, Joysali, Sebastian, Quincy, Jelena, Alexa, Alexis, Sean, Emily, Keenan, Camilla, Alexis, Luna, Carol, Austin, Raylyn, Jan, Joel, Sean, Silas, Aaliyah, Wesley, and Aluwakemi. Thank you very much for representing us so well, the county, not just the district. I truly appreciate your work. And by extension, it's also with an incredible principal, Mr. Schwartz, who, man, in the past 60 days, I've seen him everywhere. He'll be at the Puerto Rican Day Parade and at an expulsion hearing on the same day at the same time. I'm starting to doubt that there's not twins that are earning half the pay for each one. It's an incredible amount of work. You are a tremendous leader, and I really appreciate everything that you do for District 3. You go above and beyond. So please keep up the work. It's an amazing representation of our district. And then, sorry. I'll be up to your school to hand out those 48 certificates. I'd also like to announce that Isabel Figueroa, an ESE paraprofessional at COA's District 3 Support Person of the Month. She's been an incredible resource to her teacher in her classroom, but she's also built a ton of relationships with her students that allow them to focus and make the most out of their classroom time on behalf of the parents in the community of District 3. Thank you so much for everything that you do. We know that you guys sometimes feel underappreciated, but I am very appreciative of your hard work. Lastly, a little shout out to my family. My nephew, who I'm very close with, is going to Nicaragua. On Friday, he is going to be trying out for the Nicaraguan national soccer team. So I love you, Octavio. Good luck. I'll be praying for you every single day. I hope that you make that team. And even though you won't be representing this flag, maybe next time. So but good luck in your tryout. I hope that you do really well. I'll have you in my mind the whole time. So thank you. That's all. Thank you.
It's tough to follow all that good news, but again, thank you everybody for attending tonight, and as always, sometimes I do appreciate all of the support that our teachers have for our students in the district. I have a newfound respect that I'll explain in a minute. First of all, I want to thank Frank and Dr. Pace for finally getting together our letter of intent for the Boys and Girls Club. So it's a project that we've been working on, and our committee is, we're in fundraising mode. We need $600,000 to fund it over 3 years. We've already got committed $150,000. We're going to meet that goal, and St. Cloud is going to have their first Boys and Girls Club. I'm excited about that. Now back to my respect for your teachers. At the last board meeting, all of our board members had received a letter from a math coach at Kissimmee Middle School, Amanda Hirschauer. And she had some questions and concerns, and I reached out to her and called her and hooked her up with Dr. Pace and got some of her questions, got her put on the committee, and that was working fine. But during our conversation, she said, you know, I think all school board members should spend at least one full day with the teacher to understand what we go through. And I said, you're absolutely right. Let's make a date. What's your worst day of the week that's the most stressful? And she said, obviously Friday. So last Friday, I got up 7 o'clock, went and bought a box of donuts, and I headed to Kissimmee Middle. And I've never met her. So I'm walking around the campus asking for where Amanda is, and they took me to her office. And in a little while, this young lady in a sundress and tennis shoes shows up, and I now know why she wears tennis shoes, because I had to keep up with her all day long. And we started off the day putting bicycles in compounds that the kids had left outside the cage, and then in between every bell, she was rounding up these less than motivated kids to get them to class because they were being social butterflies, and that in and of itself was a chore. I saw her have to talk a poor ESE student who was at the top of the bleachers on the track trying to climb over the top of the chain link fence at the very top. And this young lady was doing her best to get this child down until the SRO showed up. And we went into every single classroom, and I watched her in action, how she interacted with all of the students. After one of the bell rings just before lunch, I see a fight breaking out in the middle of the compound. I turned to say something to her, and all I see is the backside of her running wide sprint to go to the fight, to break up the fight. Then we went to the lunchroom, and I pushed garbage cans and picked up trash, and I know what all of you go through. I really and truly do. And then towards the end of the day, she gets a radio call saying, "Oh, you have to substitute for the last 2 periods of the day," which she was not expected to do. I'm glad I took the box of donuts because that donut was breakfast and lunch. We never stopped for lunch. Yeah, I was dying at the end of the day. So when I say I have a newfound respect for all of you, I was there from bell to bell, and there was things that I picked up on campus. And one thing that I'd like to share with the board, we have our surplus items. And all the surplus items, we don't have a warehouse big enough to and I know all of you that are in the schools have problems with this. Well, all the surplus items were in the main corridor from the 6th grader walkway to the main campus. And the kids were walking upon it, and they're being kids. So I called Randy Shatera. I said, "Randy, we got to get rid of this stuff." So thank you, Randy. You went up Friday, and they cleaned out all of the surplus and packed it into the warehouse. So I would challenge all of our board members to do something like that because it really and truly was an eye-opener for me. And thank you again for all that you do for our students because the many hats that you wear goes way beyond teaching. So thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
Good.
Sorry it took so long.
Just a couple of upcoming parent engagement opportunities to remind everybody of. On Monday, October the 11th, we have our SAC mini conference, which is an opportunity for members of the SAC cadre from across the district to come together, learn more about our strategic plan, and also engage in some other sessions with members of the district leadership team, time to answer your questions. We're going to have our first Power Up for Success event with Alliance for Public Schools, a virtual conference series for families, the community, and students across the Osceola School District on October the 23rd. Those same conference sessions will be available virtually through November the 14th. And parents and students can choose to go learn more about voluntary pre-K, elementary education, our environmental center, middle school education, high school education, extended learning, just a variety of different choices to learn more about the programs that we offer and how you can be of support to your school, your students and their success. And then finally, it's a little bit ahead, but we will be starting our Choice Week on November the 15th and have our huge choice fair again this year at Osceola Heritage Park on November the 18th from 4:30 to 8, where families across the community can learn more about the special programs and learning opportunities at all of our schools across the district. So we're excited for those events and look forward to engaging with our community in these upcoming opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Brings us to a few presentations. The first one will be check presentation from Fun Spot America Theme Parks. Lisa Lewis.
Good evening. My name is Felisa Lewis, and I have the privilege of giving leadership to our district's Partners in Education program. Partners in Education for us are corporations, small businesses, churches, civic groups, nonprofits throughout Osceola County and the Central Florida area who work hand in hand with our schools. They provide enrichment experiences, educational resources, student and staff incentives, as well as material and financial support. One of the most enjoyable parts of my role is to shine a spotlight on our exemplary partners, and one of those partners is here tonight, Fun Spot America. Fun Spot has had a long history with the Osceola School District. They have provided field trips for our student groups for years. If your child happens to make the honor roll or was named Student of the Month, they might come home with a wristband for a free admission and free rides at Fun Spot. In the past, our employees were rewarded for their hard work with discount admission, and again, wristbands during Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week. And when our local tourism industry was devastated by COVID-19, the Fun Spot theme parks were not spared. Even though the parks were not open, they still offered virtual STEM education kits for teachers to use with our students. As soon as it was safe to do so, they opened their gates and welcomed us back in. Through it all, they have proven their commitment to the Osceola School District, and for this, we are very thankful. Since 2018, the annual BOGO promotion affords Osceola students and their families the opportunity to spend quality time together without breaking the bank, and these are the coupons that I'm referring to. They come home with your students throughout the year, and they're available in our school offices beginning in the fall, and they are good all year long. In addition to a fun day in the parks, Fun Spot gives back a donation from each and every one of the coupons redeemed. And so here with us tonight are Christina Lopez-Berkler and Renee Ambrose of Fun Spot America with a special presentation.
Yes. Okay. There we go. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for having us here again. It is our pleasure to be your partners. I know the last year we were here. It's incredible to think that it's been a year already. And I know that we've missed seeing you in the parks over the last school year. But we're very excited and delighted to know that this year we'll hopefully be able to welcome all the field trips if possible. But then at the same time, knowing that even though we were a little separated through field trips, we still had the families of Osceola School District to be able to enjoy some fun and bring some joy in the midst of everything that we all have been touched in some way or shape or form. So it is our pleasure to present to you guys from the 2020-2021 BOGO program, a check of $2,066 that will be going towards the foundation in order for us to help in any way that it can help to all the schools.
And if possible, if I could have Mr. Thacker and Dr. Cates join us up front.
So the girls can.
Thank you all so much.
Don't cash that check, Clarence.
Kept the spelling of my name.
Thank you, Dr. Pace, our pleasure.
Thank you all very much. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Next up, we have adoption of the proclamation for National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Andy Henman from Help Now, you want to come forward? Good evening.
Hello.
Come on.
First, I want to thank everyone, Ms. Dr. Deborah Pace and the school board members for recognizing Domestic Violence Awareness Month and for our partnership with you guys. This relationship will help show the students that we are here to make a difference and stop the cycle of abuse. My name is Christina Montalvo. I am the primary prevention specialist with Help Now of Osceola. I facilitate the Expect Respect program in the schools across Osceola County. This program helps us properly educate, inform, and guide students in creating and maintaining healthy relationships, to learn how to identify red flags and tactics, as well as expressing and communicating feelings and emotions assertively. It is a privilege of mine to work alongside these students in Osceola County. I am incredibly grateful to be with them, to learn from them, to understand and grasp the difficulties they encounter, and to witness the strength and resilience they have in overcoming challenging scenarios. Here is one story from an Expect Respect alumni student. I still have to see my abuser every day at school. I still have to go out with them sometimes. Many people are still friends with my abuser, and I often see them at gatherings. That didn't matter because I had Expect Respect to fall on. That class became a safe space to me, and so many others. And while I still have to see my abuser, I have set clear boundaries with them, and I am so proud of myself for that. This was said by a local Osceola County student. They were only 16 when they experienced these forms of teen dating violence. They have made a significant stride in overcoming the barriers that come from being exposed to this abuse. They are now a student facilitator with our Expect Respect program, and we are so proud of them for continuing to share their story and use their voice in order to help others. I now offer you the proclamation of Domestic Violence Awareness for the Osceola County School District. Whereas Help Now is a certified domestic violence center that has provided services for survivors of domestic violence and their children in Osceola County for the past 38 years. And whereas between 3.3 million and 10 million children in the United States live in a household where domestic violence is present.
I'm Andy, I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator with Help Now. Whereas domestic violence in children is directly connected with learning difficulties, lower IQ scores, deficiency in visual motor skills, and problems with attention and memory, insomnia, irritability, distractibility, and truancy. And whereas studies have shown that school-age children who witness violence display a wide range of problem behaviors, including depression, anxiety, and violence towards peers. And
good afternoon, my name is Francesca Carbona, and I am the Child Welfare and Domestic Violence Advocate for Help Now. Whereas childhood exposure to family violence disrupts cognitive and social development and leads to an array of adverse outcomes, such as violence, victimization. And whereas teen dating violence can increase the risk of later substance use, mental health problems, sexual risk behaviors, teen pregnancy, suicide, weight control, and ongoing difficulties with intimate partner relationships. And
good evening. My name is Evelyn Herrera Jackson. I am the Outreach Services Director with Help Now. Whereas by providing young people with education about healthy relationships and relationship skills, and by changing attitudes that support violence, we recognize that domestic violence can be prevented. And now, therefore, we, the Osceola County School Board, do hereby proclaim October 2021 as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and call upon the citizens of our community to join us in working towards the elimination of personal and institutional violence against all persons.
So moved.
Have a motion by Ms. Castillo, second by Mr. Arguello,
Discussion?
to approve the proclamation. Board, any further comments?
Yes, sir, Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman.
go ahead.
I appreciate this proclamation 100%, but I'd like to see the district take it a step further, like at least at the high schools. Maybe we can create like some kind of brochure or pamphlet or something like that, educating the students about the consequences of domestic violence and things like that, especially at the high school level, where that could possibly be an issue.
We're actually in the process of that with the Title IX stuff, so we can incorporate it in.
Thank you.
And I would like to thank Help Now for all y'all have done for years and years and years in this community. I think since I've been on this board, we've done this every year. And it's very sobering to have you come here and talk about the amount of kids that are abused, and in many different ways, at home, at school, with friends, family. And it's very eye-opening to think about how somebody can learn anything when they have that stress. So without your group, I don't know what they'd do. So thank you very much. Any more comments for that? Have a motion by Ms. Castillo, second by Mr. Arguello, to approve the proclamation. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much for all you do and for being here.
As we're taking the opportunity to take the photo, please feel free to visit our website. We have although we're still in virtual world, we have a calendar of events that we welcome you all for the presentations as well as the activities that we do are engaging for the month activities. So thank you very much.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up will be the school district declares the month of October 2021 as National Principals Month. Michelle Henninger, you're gonna.
Good evening, Chairman Thacker, school board members, Dr. Pace, and district leadership. It is an absolute honor and privilege to be here tonight in celebration of our principals and assistant principals, many of which are here this evening, as you can see. So, and as far as expressing support for the nation's principals by designating the month of October in the year 2021 as National Principals Month. Whereas the school district of Osceola County has declared the month of October 2021 as National Principals Month in coordination with the efforts of the National Association of Elementary School Principals, the American Federation of School Administrators, and the National Association of Secondary School Principals, working with the U.S. Congress to designate National Principals Month and resolutions thereof. Whereas the vision, dedication, and determination of a principal provides this mobilizing force behind any school reform effort. Whereas principals are expected to be educational visionaries, instructional leaders, assessment experts, disciplinarians, community builders, public relations experts, budget analysts, facility managers, special programs, administrators, and guardians of various legal, contractual, and policy mandates and initiatives, as well as being entrusted with the education and development of young people, the most valuable resource. Whereas principals will play a vital role in successful implementation of the Every Student Succeeds Act, or ESSA. Whereas principals set the academic tone for their schools and work collaboratively with teachers to develop and maintain high curriculum standards, develop mission statements, and set performance goals and objectives for schools to achieve educational excellence. Whereas the school district of Osceola County honors such exemplary elementary and middle level public, private, and independent school leaders committed to serving students from pre-kindergarten to grade 8 in their profession. Whereas the school district of Osceola County recognizes outstanding middle level and high school principals who have succeeded in providing high quality learning opportunities for students, as well as their exemplary contributions to the profession. Whereas to honor and recognize the contribution of all school principals and assistant principals at all grade levels to the success of students in Florida elementary and secondary schools, and to encourage residents of Florida to observe National Principals Month with appropriate ceremonies and activities that promote awareness of school leadership's role in ensuring that every child has access to high-quality education. Be it resolved, in honor of the service of all elementary, middle level, and high school principals, and to recognize the importance of their school leadership so that every child has access to high-quality education, and to celebrate school leader accomplishments, the month of October 2021 is hereby designated in Florida to be National Principals Month.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Arguez, second by Mr. Bass, to approve the declaration of National Principals Month. Board, any comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. Great job. And just a comment on that, when, I won't forget this, when Dr. Pace was interviewing for her job, somebody on the, one of the other board members, I don't remember who it was, asked her what the most important function was in the school district, and her response was, the people that drive the most are our principals. And good principals make everything else work, so thank you all very much. I happen to agree with that. You run your schools, you do what's right, you motivate your students, motivate your teachers. Probably in some pretty tough times right now, so thank you all very much. Lights on after school day. Shanisha Simmons? We did skip one.
Good evening, Dr. Pace, Chairman Thacker, board members, district leadership. Thank you for this opportunity. I am joined this evening by Dr. Contovia Adams, our grant project manager for 21st Century Community Learning Centers, and Mrs. Marianne Rodriguez Perez, Director of Early Childhood and Extended Learning, there in the audience. The School District of Osceola County Extended Learning Program serves over 2,000 students, and the 21st Century Program serves over 900 students. After-school programs help young people develop teamwork skills, communication, self-awareness, self-management, and decision-making skills. Lights On After School Day focuses on sharing the importance of these programs with our community and enables our partners to see the exciting activities that take place in our after-school programs. The proclamation. Whereas the School District of Osceola County stands firmly committed to quality after-school programs and opportunities because they provide safe, challenging, and engaging learning experiences to help children develop social, emotional, physical, and academic skills, support working families by ensuring their children are safe and productive before and after the regular school day ends, build stronger communities by involving students, parents, business leaders, and adult volunteers in the lives of young people, thereby promoting positive relationships among youth, families, and adults. Engage families, schools, and community partners in advancing the welfare of our children. Whereas after-school programs provide engaging hands-on learning and opportunities to connect with caring adults and peers. Whereas Lights On After School, the national celebration of after-school programs, held this year on Thursday, October 28, 2021, promotes the importance of quality after-school programs in the lives of children, families, and communities. Whereas more than 28 million children in the U.S. have parents who work outside of the home, and 7.7 million children have no place to go after school. Whereas the Extended Learning Program and 21st Century Program are committed to providing opportunities that help our children learn and grow while helping them develop the skills essential for success in life and work. Therefore, be it resolved that the School District of Osceola County School Board do hereby proclaim Thursday, October 28, 2021 as Lights On After School Day.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Arguello with a second by Ms. Castillo to approve the proclamation declaring October 28, 2021 as Lights On After School Day. Board, any questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those like sign, motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much for bringing
Thank
this
you,
to us.
Board.
Dr. Pace, I believe you've got some.
Thank you, Chairman Thacker and members of the board. Thank you, Chairman Thacker and members of the board. I am excited tonight to bring forward some administrative recommendations. It seems fitting as we declare October Principals Month that we have so many of you here with us tonight. And so many of the principals that you see in the room have had a very critical role in helping to develop some of the new appointments I'll be recommending for you tonight. And if I could please, I'll start with inviting Michelle Perez Schwartz to the podium. Board members, Michelle began her career in Texas as a teacher at various elementary schools. She has been a math and science coach at Lakeview Elementary, a math and science district resource specialist, and an assistant principal at both Kissimmee Elementary School and currently at Highlands Elementary School, underneath the wise leadership of Mr. Noyes and then Mrs. Cummings. She's a part of our leadership pipeline experience, a part of our Preparing New Principals program. She received her bachelor's degree in elementary education and interdisciplinary studies from Texas State University, a master's degree in education curriculum and instruction from the University of Phoenix, and her educational leadership certification from Stetson University. And I'm pleased tonight to recommend Ms. Michelle Perez Schwartz to be the next principal at Koa Elementary School.
I have a motion by Mr. Arguello with a second by Mr. Melendez. Approve the appointment. Board, any further comments? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those like sign, congratulations. Good luck.
She needs a mic.
Oh,
Okay.
She's probably loud enough.
I am loud enough. I'll take this, no problem. Well, one, I have to tell you that the last time that I stood before the board, I actually forgot to thank the most important people and had to be reminded as I was walking off because I was very nervous. So I'll make sure to start with that. I forgot to thank my family first. Speaking of the greatness that does come from Osceola County, but most certainly from this girl's home, my sons Diego and Nicholas, my twin boys that have started college this year, are actually watching from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University and from Texas State University. So, my boys know that they are the reason. They are the reason that we do the job that we do. It's not just because they're my children, but because children like them walk through the halls of every school in this district, and I don't take that lightly. Certainly my husband, who's also been a great inspiration for me as I've watched him step into these roles and was right by his side at that Puerto Rican Day parade, I must say. It's a pleasure to have him as, not only my partner in life, but as a colleague as well. As Dr. Pace had mentioned, I'm lucky and I'm so blessed to be surrounded by amazing mentors who most certainly loved this girl and guided me through this process. That certainly isn't easy, but it is those challenges that make us the leaders that we are today, that prepare us for that next role and just taking on the challenge that we do take on as educators and certainly as leaders of buildings. So I'm just forever indebted to those who've given me that opportunity that sit here in this class, in this room beside me. Most certainly, the school board, Dr. Pace, and all school leaders who have given this woman a chance and, have decided that it's okay to allow me to step into this and to lead Koa Elementary to the next level. When I was really thinking about the things that I wanted to say, I thought, okay, three things that are just going to be that piece that just drives me as a person. And the things that came to mind was that may we always choose courage over comfort, may we always choose possibility over perceived limits, and may we never ever forget que sí se puede.
Welcome to District 3.
And next, if I could invite Ms. Jamie Woshan to the podium, please. Board members, I am pleased tonight to recommend Ms. Woshan to also be a part of District 3 as the new assistant principal at Poinciana High School. She has been a behavior specialist, a resource compliance specialist, a dean of students, a program specialist, and a district compliance program specialist. She received her bachelor's degree from Richard Stockton College, her master's degree from the University of Central Florida and her educational leadership certification and educational specialist degree in curriculum and instruction from Stetson University. And I am confident that Ms. Wojcik will be a great addition to Mr. Schwartz's leadership team as a Poinciana Eagle.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Melendez with a second by Mr. Arguello to approve the appointment. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. Congratulations.
Okay, first I would like to thank Dr. Pace and the school board, my district leadership, and obviously Mr. Schwartz for giving me this opportunity to grow professionally. I also would like to thank my ESE leadership team and my wonderful RCSs that I worked with for many years. But above all, I would like to thank my loving family for supporting me to becoming the leader that I can be and being worthy of repping the P. Go Eagles.
And next board members, if I could invite Mr. Shane Muller to the podium.
He's got us curious now.
I'm waiting.
Mr. Muller. Board members, I am honored tonight to recommend Mr. Shane Muller to become the next assistant principal at St. Cloud High School. He has been a teacher and a dean and the MTSS lead at St. Cloud High School. He is a bulldog through and through, Mr. Fancher. He received his bachelor's degree in social science education from the University of South Florida, his master's degree in educational leadership from American College of Education, and I'm sure he's going to do a great job in his next role at St. Cloud High School.
Move to approve on this one, move to approve.
A motion by Mr. Bass with a second by Mr. Arguello. Any further discussion, board? I'm sorry. Mr. Fancher, please leave the room. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries 5-0.
I'm feeling old here. 10 years old? Little League, yeah.
Absolutely. So Dr. Pace, leadership team of the district, thank you guys for the opportunity. Mr. Fancher, the leadership team at St. Cloud High School is fantastic. The opportunities they've given me have been incredible. Mr. Schwartz, he seems to be the man of the night. That's my neighbor. So much guidance from him. And the entire leadership team at St. Cloud High School has been fantastic. I cannot wait to get to work for them, for the students and their staff. I also want to thank my wife, my daughter, who are at home watching. So thank you.
Congratulations.
And then finally, board members, if I could invite Mr. Michael Glassburn to the podium. Board members, as you can notice, there's been a trend tonight. These are all products of the district's leadership pipeline. And as I said earlier, the principals in this room, the assistant principals, the district leadership team have played an incredible role in helping to develop them and bring them to a place where I am confident they are ready to serve. And Mr. Glassburn is no different. I am proud to recommend him to be an assistant principal at Osceola High School. He has been a wrestling coach, a math teacher, an AVID coordinator, the testing coordinator, and currently is the dean of students at Harmony High School. He received his bachelor's degree in mathematics education from the University of Central Florida, his master's degree in educational leadership from Nova Southeastern University. Board members, Mr. Michael Glassburn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Arguello, second by Mr. Melendez to appoint to approve the appointment of Toho AP. Any further questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign, motion carries 5-0. Congratulations to you.
I too would like to thank the leadership team of the district, the leadership team at Harmony, and Mr. R. Scott, who helped me a lot, and my family.
And this Maybe a good time for those who are here for just the appointments, if you wish to leave the room and go to do something a little better than this. We'll give you a minute to head that way. Dr. Pace, do you have an update?
Yes, I do, short, but I do.
Let's give them a minute to, congratulations, all of you. You like the ring tilt?
I just noticed that all the staff is on one side of it.
Okay. Dr. Pace, you have an update for us?
I do have an update. Ruben, you have an update? Here we go. All right, board members, just a quick update tonight. I did want to provide another update on the most recent Osceola County data based on the executive policy group meeting that I was a participant in on Friday. We have some good news to share as things continue to get better, not just in our state and our country, but also here on the local level. So for the third time in 10 weeks, the number of Osceola County COVID cases in the school-age child care group, ages 5 to 17, showed a decline, 165 cases this past week. In addition, this age group accounted for 24.32% of all Osceola County cases. You know, that's gone down from 28% to at one time 35%. So definitely moving in the right direction, even though we're active and back in school full-time. Overall cases in Osceola County also declined, along with the positivity rate for the 6th consecutive week. This last week, we had 681 cases reported, and that's the first time that that number was less than 1,000 in a 3-month period of time. In addition, the overall vaccination rate for Osceola residents ages 12 and up is 78% with 1 or more dose. That number's pretty consistent from the last report. 66% now with the vaccine series complete, or 1 more percentage point increase. For residents ages 65 and up, the most vulnerable population, the numbers are 90% with 1 or more doses and 82% series complete. And I learned last week that Osceola County has the highest vaccination rate among residents in the state. So our local Department of Health has been a great partner not only to our school district, but also to our community in helping to keep us all safe. There were no Osceola County child hospitalizations reported to the Department of Health in week 39. And the overall positivity rate was 9.52%. That is the lowest point for the month of September. In terms of in our schools, what we continue to report, again, we're continuing to see a decline. This is a lot of numbers, but you can see that since August, the number of positive students reported in our community, in our school, has gone down from 575 cases to 71 cases during the week of 9/27. And in terms of staff positive, again, that number has gone down by half, from 54 cases the week of August the 30th to 24 cases the week of September 27th. I know that the board was interested in looking at percentages by school because obviously enrollment is different across different schools. So overall, that number went down during the week of 65 to 0.011. For elementary school, that number was at 0.015 for last week. For middle schools, that number was at 0.11 for middle schools. And for high schools, that number was at 0.12. And then finally, we have our multi-level schools. That's our K-8 and our 6 through 12 schools. That number gets down even smaller to 0.01. Overall, for our pool testing data that's going on, we have continued to visit 2 schools per day. We're getting ready to start round 2 of that pool testing availability. Again, it is strictly voluntary. Parents provide permission if they want to have their student tested. Staff volunteer. For the total tested, since we started on October the 1st, we've given 2,148 tests. Of those, 18 were reported positive, and that's 0.837% overall. The number's a little higher than what we had last year, which we would anticipate with the Delta variant, but still much lower than the typical population. Just a reminder of the mitigation strategies that we are continuing to put into place. Social distancing, certainly it's limited with more students back in our buildings, but we have discouraged extra furniture in the classroom to try to add space between desk tables and chairs where possible, discouraging the sharing of supplies and materials,
encouraging people to wash their hands, use hand sanitizer throughout the day. Certainly the wipes from Mr. Enwood will be appreciative. The school nurse does have a designated isolation area in the event that someone is experiencing symptoms at school until we can get them off campus. We are continuing to provide our ZD3 and ZD5 cleaners, along with microfiber cloths in spaces that can be wiped down. We're continuing to use the microbe control to provide for deep cleaning with the electrostatic sprayers. And we do have an area response team in our maintenance and custodial team here at the district that can be assembled if there is an outbreak or an infection and we feel like we need to do a deep clean of an entire building or department area. In addition, as we've shared before, we are continuing to put down the Omni Shield every 90 days, which is another hidden barrier or protective barrier to prevent the spread of bacteria of all kinds whenever possible on hard surfaces. Just an update on enrollment as we are entering our FTE period this week, and then next Friday the 15th is actually what we consider a drop dead date for both making sure that we're in compliance with class size and reporting our FTE to the district to be then calibrated for funding purposes. As of this week, we're at over 74,000 students. So that's a considerable number in terms of increase over where we were last October. That does include 959 McKay scholarships, which is about average for what it's been over, say, for example, the last 4 to 5 years, down slightly over the last 3 years. However, the Family Empowerment Scholarships, as you know, that program was expanded to be available to more individuals in the community for private school enrollment. That number is up to almost 3,000 students. So FTE will be adjusted for those numbers. I've shared some information from Rutledge Cecilia with you in the past about what that impact to the district will be. Keep in mind that there are funds set aside specifically in the state budget for that, but for right now, they are recalibrating district monthly payments until January when they look at what that will look like and work that all out. We do have 16,906 students in charter schools, including Bella Lago Academy. That's up from 1,447 last October. And we're up to almost 54,000 students in our SDOC district managed schools, excluding Bella Lago, which is an increase of 2,234 students since last October. You know, there's been some question about our demographics. This is as of the most recent numbers, according to what is in focus. 79% of our students are reported as either Hispanic, African American, Pacific Islander, Native American, or Asian. We have 46% of our students who are coded as free and reduced lunch students, 17% who are coded as English language learners at this time, 12% as exceptional student education students, and 4% as immigrant students. I always want to end with some good news. So we recently received back some information from our PSAT administration, and we have the most students ever qualifying for the National Merit Scholarship semifinalist status. So you have Evan Halperin, Nicholas Riveros, Israel Rosales, Sarah York, and Zachary Zelmansky from Celebration High School, Sean McBride from Osceola County School for the Arts, Emily Chestnut from Point Siena High School, and Noah Jenkins at St. Cloud High School. So we want to be encouraging those students to take the PSAT and the SAT again so that they can potentially further qualify for a national merit scholarship across the national level. So super excited about that. And beyond that, I'm happy to answer any questions. That's just the most recent update that I have to provide.
Any questions? Thank you, Dr. Page, for the update.
I do have one question. I'm sorry. Remember last year we were talking about there's ghosted students or students that we couldn't find? That was like a big deal during the pandemic. What number is that now? I mean, were you able to find them, or we know where they are? They've been homeschooled and things like that?
We were able to reduce that number significantly in the spring through a specific outreach program through our student services team and our social workers, and actually the SROs participated in that as well. I can get you exact numbers, Mr. Melendez. There is that specific set of funding from ESSER and ARP designed to help find those students. As we shared with you in our ESSER plans, we are focusing those dollars on attendance and really hiring that additional personnel in the student services team to make that personal outreach to encourage regular attendance. Because our attendance, remember last year, stayed right around that 89-90%, and we want to be at least 94-95%. We're working hard to get people back into the routine of doing regular attendance at school, but we're doing earlier outreach than we have in the past. So I'm happy to provide that information for you, but I don't have the numbers off the top of my head.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Pease.
That's all I have.
Anything else, board? With that, we will recess the regular board meeting and call to order the public hearing on proposed revisions to our rules. Mr. Boyd.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Pace. This evening, we bring to you 4 changes to school board rules, but I wanted to clarify that in the agenda packet, there was a list for the upcoming rulemaking cycle of more than that. We're not asking for any action on those, but on these 4 that I'll read into the record for the second time, we would be asking for action taken on these rules changes. So the first one is a brand new school board rule. These are the same 4 rules we brought to you at the workshop a few weeks ago. So this is 3.402, safe school officers. It's ongoing creation of new policy language and revisions of existing policy language in order to comply with recent changes in state law and or guidance from the Florida Department of Education and the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, and to provide consistency with district precedent and current practice. This is all under the label of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School Public Safety Act. Pursuant to section 1006.12, safe school officers at each public school, Florida statutes. This change defines the classifications, qualifications, training requirements, and work responsibilities of safe school officers. The proposed rule also includes input from School Board Member Julius Melendez and his advisory committee for school safety. The next 3 school board rules are existing rules, and these are revisions to those existing rules. Again, this is ongoing policy creation for the same reason as I read for the prior rule. This rule, 3.40, safe and secure schools, the changes to this rule revise the rule to implement recent revisions to the Florida State Board of Education Rule 6A-1.0018, School Safety Requirements and Monitoring. This rule was passed by the State Board of Education on June 10, 2021. These changes also revise paragraphs 4G and 6B through E to implement recent legislative changes per Senate Bill 590 in sections 1002.20, 1006.07 Florida statutes, and the State Board of Education Rule 6A-1.0018. These clarify requirements for emergency drills and parental notification. The changes to this rule also revise paragraph 5C to clarify that threat assessment teams shall use the Comprehensive School Threat Assessment Guidelines, acronym CSTAG, as the behavioral threat assessment instrument. This also adds paragraph 5D to clarify specific meeting documentation and reporting requirements for threat assessment teams, and adds paragraph 9 to clarify per state law specific duties of the school district safety specialist and requirements for monitoring, reporting, and curing suspected safety deficiencies. These changes also include input from School Board Member Julius Melendez and his advisory committee for school safety. Rule 4.40, extracurricular program, also ongoing policy creation from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Act, Public Safety Act, revises the rule to implement recent revisions to Florida State Board of Education Rule 6A-10018, School Safety Requirements and Monitoring. Adds paragraph 6 to clarify that a safe school officer shall be assigned for certain times outside of the regular school day, including before and after school, summer school, during extracurricular activities, and for school-sponsored events, and that the school principal shall consult with the district school safety specialist and request the assignment for established school district procedures. This rule change also includes input from School Board Member Julius Melendez and his advisory committee for school safety. And last but not least, Rule 6.97, weapons, revises paragraph 9 to comply with changes to section 1006.12, safe school officers at each public school Florida statutes. and includes input from school board member Julius Melendez and his advisory committee. So school board members, I'll pause at this time to offer an opportunity for public comment if there is any, and then after that, request action on these 4 rule changes.
This is a public meeting. Is there anybody wishing to address the board on any of the items that Mr. Boyd has just read from? Seeing none, we will close the public portion of the public hearing. Move forward.
All right, sir, thank you. So at this time, school board members, if there are any questions, I'll gladly take them, but we request the board to vote on approval of these 4 changes.
Mr. Melendez, I believe you have.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just spoke with Mr. Krappenbacher, and we're talking about, because one of the school board policies is the creation of a safety advisory committee made up of folks, from each district appointed, District 1, District 2, District 3. Do we have to wait till it's completely formalized, or can we the outline is there, can we set it up, or what's the procedure for that?
You can move forward and have the board members nominate who they consider.
Yeah, so just something to get the legwork started. We don't have to maybe have the first official meeting until after the policy's in place, but the policy's there where each board member can appoint somebody to the safety advisory committee, law enforcement's there, and they can actually have a committee. So, and I guess it's me jumping the gun a little bit, but I can wait, it's not that big of a rush.
I've got to think about who I want.
Yeah, so, but just consider it then, because I think this is how many hearings left, or?
For this?
Yes.
No, I'm requesting action on it to become
Yeah,
policy.
Oh, so it's gonna be concrete, it's gonna be done, oh yeah, then, I don't even have to
Yes,
ask for that, yeah, it's gonna be,
We get a motion in a second.
yeah, it's gonna be formally policy, so I guess maybe at the next board meeting, we can at least share the packet to everyone, so they can see exactly what the committee is about, and then you guys can think about who do you wanna appoint, and then maybe at some future agenda, we actually formalize the committee.
Mr. Arguello, you have comments?
My only concern with this committee, I think it's a great idea. The only issue is it going to be completely disregarded by the law enforcement agencies as the last task force was for the most part, right? Anything that was really, important, certainly important issues that were discussed and decided upon were then ignored and they moved on. So, what authority will the task force have, and how will it actually impact the relationship between us and the law enforcement agencies?
They will have the legal authority to recommend to you, and this board will decide what they adopt or don't adopt. And then, to the extent it becomes a political issue, you are all well aware what that means, right? And some things they react to, some things they don't.
Yeah, the main thing is they report to us, and we're the ones that interact with law enforcement. That committee isn't gonna interact directly with them. They give us advice of what's going on and things like that, and it's up to us to do that. So move.
Thank you.
Ms. Castillo?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm assuming that this, the advisory committee will also be able to inform our own internal security procedures. It's not just for law enforcement, I'm assuming.
Yes.
That's correct.
And also too, we did say that we want some kind of background check on everyone that sits there. They're not gonna get access to super confidential stuff like we do, but
Yeah.
they're still gonna have access to some information. And so we wanna make sure that
What
whoever we
kind of
appoint,
information are we talking about?
they won't get specific student data, but they'll get overall numbers. They'll say, hey, this school has maybe this many incidents, at the end of the year, they'll assimilate the data and say, okay, this is how many fights there were, this is how many of this were.
You mean like demographic information and incident information?
Yes, overall. They won't say student XYZ did something. They'll have overall aggregated data. This is how many incidents that we've had on our campus at least once a year.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Mr. Melendez with a second by Mr. Arguello. Arguello to approve the rulemaking changes. Any more questions, Ms. Castillo? You have?
Sorry, I was
You're
having a side conversation
I
with Mr.
apologize.
Melendez, but I realized that it should probably be a
We were
public.
halfway through election.
No, totally fine. May have missed it, and if I did, I apologize to you for that. But I don't know specifically, is it in here somewhere codified? What the, I guess what your task force wants to do? Or can you send that to us again?
No, what we can do is, because the policy is just very general, it's
Yeah.
not very specific, so what we'll do is with board's permission, because I can't talk to staff. I mean, but with the board's permission, we can kind of create like a parameter with Dr. Pace too, like what they do and do not discuss. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
'Cause
and I
the-
feel like
the
that needs
policy
to
doesn't
be-
tell you specifically, it just says there will be a school safety advisory committee, they'll meet once a year, they'll get reports, but it's not very specific. So I can get together with Dr. Pace and say, okay, what are the boundaries? What are they allowed to cover? What are they supposed to cover? And that's not in the policy, that's just our own directive.
Right, I just,
That
for,
needs to come back to the board.
right,
The board needs to approve that, and that needs to be instructed to the committee. This is your authority, this is what you're instructed to do. And
Frank,
that, Dr.
I need
Pace,
you to speak up there, I'm having a hard time.
oh, Frank, here you go.
thank you. That needs to be, drafted, brought back to you by the superintendent. You need to adopt it as to what the mission and the directions and the regulations are. And then they go from there, and I think it's important that Dr. Pace knows she'll confer with security as to just what we consider, no, nobody's gonna have access to it, it's not appropriate, it's not needed, versus what you can have access to. And that'll be brought back to this board for approval.
You look like Frank Sinatra there, Frank.
Hope he does not break into a tune.
Yeah, so I agree that we need to lay down the ground rules before we start appointing people, so you know exactly what it is that who we're
I mean, but I'm definitely all for like making sure if they're going to be security, if they're going to advise us on security, we definitely wanna make sure that they do their background checks and they are able to access all that information. I don't know what information, you know, we need to make sure that, you know, we're okay with that, but I'm definitely for it, thank you.
Right, but background checks were put into the policy.
Perfect, I love that.
Have a motion by Mr. Melendez with a second by Mr. Arguez, is that correct? To approve the rulemaking changes. Board, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much. And Mr. Floyd, with that, thank you, and we will adjourn the public hearing for rulemaking. And we will reconvene the regular school board meeting. First item up are agenda modifications, and before we go any further, just speaking to the back row here, can anybody hear me? In the back row? Okay. Is it any better tonight overall? Well, I know, but I'm not using it. I'm curious if this is working.
its own, yeah.
Oh, it doesn't work unless you have it closer to you.
Oh, well, they can hear us for some reasons. They're all saying okay, so I'm not gonna worry about it.
It doesn't have to be right at your mouth, it will pick up the sound.
Okay, with that, we have agenda modifications. I need to pull one item off of the consent agenda for somebody to speak on it. It is 10.02. Would any other, I think we have a blue sheeted item, Dr. Pace?
Item 11.01, you have a blue sheet beside you. It is simply to change the contract number and also the signature sheet. Those items were incorrect when they were originally submitted to the board, but the amount of the contract, the scope of the work that's being requested to be approved remains all the same.
Mr. Kruppenbacher, since that is a change to something on the consent, should it be pulled and moved to the regular agenda to do that?
No, you can keep it on the consent.
Okay, yeah, John,
Yeah, 906,
that's consent,
pull
you
from
want to move it?
consent. 10.03, 10.06, 12.10.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
12.10, 12.
And to new business, I would like to discuss, to vote on at the next meeting, a resolution that preserves and encourages community members, taxpayers, parents from speaking out or to speak out at our meetings in opposition to the federal government's memo trying to silence parents from speaking at meetings. And number 7, I'd like to discuss the adoption of a school district policy that not only bans political ideologies, but describes them and reiterates the policy and then goes into what the consequences would be of doing that.
Make sure I understand. Under new business, you want to add a resolution on speaking publicly in a Is it also under new business?
With
this week?
ideology, yes,
The political,
both.
okay.
Two items.
I got you. All right,
Mr. Chairman, could you get with me so we have something drafted ahead of, put on the
Oh, the
agenda?
next one, absolutely.
Yeah, he said for
Consider.
discussion. Anybody else have any other items? Does anybody know what this all is? You want me to read it?
You're good, let me,
From the consent agenda, we are pulling items 9.06, 10.02, 10.03, 10.06, and 12.10. We have a clerical scrivener's error change for 11.01. Under new business, Mr. Arguelles requests a discussion on a resolution about public speaking based on federal government guidelines and a discussion on political ideology. Board motions?
motion to approve.
Second. I have a motion by Mr. Arguello with a second by Mr. Melendez to approve the agenda modifications and the consent. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. That will take us to item 9.06. Mr. Arguello.
Yes, I just, really quick, Dr. Pace, I just wanted to make sure that this calendar isn't being sprung on the teachers so that when we pass this, the teachers aren't gonna come and talk to us about not having been duly made aware of this plan. So were there discussions here with the teachers so that, to avoid that?
This is primarily the state calendar in terms of the assessments that are dates kind of outside our control. And then our progress monitoring that has been published, we've already been doing some ongoing kinds of things. I have not been privy to specific conversations with teachers, but these are dates that have been published.
So the state basically put out a window, and so I think that some of our windows are shortened so that we have time to take the information that's gathered during that time and then be able to compile it and report it and send it back, right? So I just want to make sure that there was a discussion or some discussion did happen so that I think at the last time that we had a calendar, which I think we're also discussing tonight, right, the academic calendar, obviously there was a lot of people reaching out for that, so I just want to make sure we avoid that. Other than that, motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Arguello, with a second by Mr. Melendez to approve item 9.06. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries 5-0. Brings us to item 10.02, which I pulled. I pulled that because we had somebody wishing to speak on that item. Janelle Barish, if you would, please come up. You have 3 minutes and let us know what's on your mind.
Thank you. My name
And
is
you're
Janelle.
great job to your team right
Oh,
here.
thank you. I love them so much. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Janelle Berga, and I'm the choir director at Topeka High School. I wanted to present today to provide you the opportunity to fully understand the how, when, and why of the Parade of Heroes, and why we so desperately want to accept the invitation to participate. After receiving a recommendation form from the Amway Center when Topeka Choir sang for the first game of the Magic season 2 years ago, Historic Programs, a nonprofit organization who puts together events to honor people who have aided in our country's history, invited us to sing at the 20th anniversary of 9/11 being performed in Carnegie Hall. In their invitation letter, they spoke about our musical maturity, professionalism, and kindness, and believed we would be great for their performance. It was such an honor for our choir, our school, and our district. I really do care about the art students in Osceola because I graduated from Osceola High School in 2010. And when our choir had the opportunity to perform in Carnegie Hall, it transformed me from a student who only saw herself as a high school singer to a student who finally saw a future for herself. Today I see a glimpse of myself and my students, especially the students you heard tonight. All 7 of those are seniors who are planning to go on this trip. I saw this opportunity not just as a way to bring recognition to the program, but to show the students they are capable of great things. It was a great day when we found out that the trip was approved, and it was a devastating day when we found out it wasn't safe to go to New York City because of COVID. That is why I was thrilled when one of the coordinators of historic programs asked if we would like to participate in the Parade of Heroes, an event they were hosting for Veterans Day in Washington, D.C. to honor war veterans from World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. The students will have their own 30-minute performance in the Capitol Mall, get to tour historic sites and the Smithsonian museums, get to be featured in the parade, and get to present awards and thanks to the veterans themselves. With everything that has happened in their lives the last few years, I believe the opportunity to work together to bring recognition to those who deserve our utmost respect would be extremely impactful for their social emotional health and the cultural health of our future community. These seniors' sophomore year, they were denied going to perform at state even though they earned it with superior ratings because of COVID. Of those 7 students you saw today, along with 50% of our choir had to stay home their junior year due to COVID. And I just want them to be able to use their gifts in a meaningful way this year, their senior year. The music is selected, the chaperones are fingerprinted, the money is collected, COVID precaution procedures such as a COVID test prior to departure, researching Hilton sanitation standards, and mask expectations have been set. And all we need is your approval so these students can sing America the Beautiful, To Those Who Serve, Let My Love Be Heard, Shoshalosa, and that beautiful rendition of the Star Spangled Banner you heard tonight to some of the best men and women in the country, with some of the best musicians in our country, all conducted by retired Master Chief of Bands. That in itself will be a great learning opportunity. I truly believe the experience will propel the students forward to furthering their education, increasing their musical and social emotional learning, give them more respect for each other and those around them, and help them better understand what it means to live in the land of the free because of the brave.
Yes.
Yay!
Mr. Burris?
Hang on just a minute.
After blowing your name twice, I got it third time.
So I was gonna actually pull this item to say congratulations. I had no idea that you were gonna come up here and do this. If only everybody asked for money like that. So I appreciate your diligence, number one, and good luck and God bless you for your trip, and as well as the future farmers from Harmony who are also on this agenda item. Good luck to both of you. Enjoy your trip. Hopefully it passes, and with that, I'll motion to approve.
Oh, yay!
I'll second. And how are you doing on your funding? How are you doing on your funding?
The parents, they just.
Have you met your goal, or are you a little shy?
We are a little shy, but we have
How
a
much?
snap raise.
How much?
Oh, like
Just ballpark.
like 5,000? No, but like this.
Robert's got it.
I am going to contribute some to that. I just want you to know that I'll get with you afterwards,
Oh
because
my
I'd like
gosh.
to help you out.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I was saying,
say-
this is approval for the field trip, not for funding.
No, I know, it's just me personally though, I'd like to.
Oh
Do
my
we have
goodness.
anything in our capital?
Wow, oh my god.
So I don't mind donating like $2,000 of our $1 billion budget to go to this program.
$1.7 billion.
Yeah, I mean, I'll donate some money personally too, I'm
No,
not sure.
we're getting way off track.
If I may, Chairman, if I may, I'd like to modify my motion to, I'll motion to approve with the addition of filling in the balance for these 2 groups to go on their trips if they are short, or whatever amount they are short.
Not to exceed.
I was just gonna go there. Thanks for the lawyer. Not to exceed, what was the amount that you said, 5,000?
Yeah.
So not to exceed 5,000 per
In
group.
total for the 2?
Per group.
No, I don't know how much Harmony needs. Do you know?
There's
that?
only 3, I think it's 3 students. It can't be that much.
I mean, we'll say 5,000 total if they need whatever, yeah. The total applied to, I'd say 5,000 total for both, not each one. So it's not 10,000 total, 5,000 total applied to both. And if they're short, then they can come to us to fundraise and we'll help them give them extra money personally.
Oh my goodness.
Does that work?
Yes.
All right, so moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Arguello with
I'll second.
with a second by Mr. Bass, to approve, item, I'm lost. 10.03, with the addition of providing $5,000 in funding, towards these 2 groups. Board, any other discussion? I've got a comment. I'm all for this trip, I'm all for your students. I'm a little nervous about coming up with $5,000 without having any idea where it's coming from. And I don't know how we're starting to set a precedent next week when something else comes up. I'd rather I'm having a very hard time, to vote for this because of that. I'm all for the trip. To be very clear on that, and I think it's a great thing, and I wouldn't mind helping as some of the others have said by myself, but
I can add something. We have a snap raise going, if you've heard of that before.
have, absolutely.
What?
So, a
Snap
snap raise, so, if it's stressing out, I don't want our trip to stress out the school board. So if there
Well,
are,
it's not that, but how do we say the next group that comes in,
yeah,
that, the tadpole societies is not as important,
yeah,
where all the tadpoles are, I don't know.
yeah.
So I'm just nervous about getting into, I can tell you, I'm always say, I'm 100% for this. I'm concerned about, picking it, I don't know how we pick and choose, and I can see this thing blowing up, but I've got some others have some comments. Mr. Arguello?
Yeah,
Yeah, I got it.
we just got $250 million from CARES, right? I think that we can afford the $5,000, but the, but, I mean, I asked for coins, we came up with the money. The thing is, the money is there, right? It's just a matter of, I know that it's definitely a legitimate concern because one group after another will come, you know? I don't think that's necessarily bad. If they all come with the same diligence that you do, I think that we should be able to fund it. Maybe this year while we have $250 million, maybe not next year when we don't. But I think that the money's there. I think that, I mean, if I have to go look for it in all of our itemized budget, I guarantee you I can find the $5,000.
Dr. Pace?
In the past, the board has dedicated funds from some of our marketing dollars, that was when the program was first come out into its inception, for national level types of competition. For example, something like this, where they've been invited on a national level based on past performance or something like that. We could certainly take that into consideration. I'm gonna serve at the willingness of the board, but that would be something that the board has considered before as criteria for support. And then certainly, we all work together to help student organizations raise funds for different levels of activities.
Yeah, I think that's a good criteria.
Ms. Castillo? Then you're next.
Dr. Pace, I would be more comfortable with doing that. Again, I'm the procedure person. I'm never fun, I know. But the concern is because I know what's coming and I would not want to sit here and tell another group, we can't do this because we don't have it. We do have funds that have been given to us, but they are allocated. If you pay attention to the wonderful budget workshops by Sarah, you would see that everything that we have is allocated. So I know it's not fun and it's not fuzzy, and I hate that for me, because I'm the one that typically does it. But how can I help you? So we know, and again, if the board wants to go ahead and do this, of course, but what else can we do? You were just about to talk about the snack.
Yeah, I was
Can you
just
tell
gonna
us
say.
about that, please?
Yeah, so we have a snap raise. Snap raise is a district approved Facebook vendor that fundraises for schools. It's literally just donations from anywhere in the world. I can get your emails, they can send you an invitation, you click on it, and it is tax deductible. And you can personally, if you would love to, which that humbles me so much, then you could do that, and if you, it doesn't have to be a board thing.
Is this a link that we can share on our
Yes.
board pages and then get other people to donate in that respect as well?
Yes.
So that, I mean, if you wanna send that to me, I'll be happy to do whatever I can personally to do. We all have connections with tons of different organizations in town. I just think, and again, it's always me, I know, I have a fan club, but I know, you're the president. I will not feel comfortable saying no to someone else if we can't do it. It would break my heart.
Yeah.
So that's the only, but again, if there's 5 people on the board and I'm only one person, and I know that at the end of the day, we all just wanna help the children, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, you do bring up a good idea, and I think that a good filter for that are like national and state competitions too. Because just
Yeah, I like that.
because just last year, I think it was one of our high school football teams. I can't remember exactly how much. We all liked the fact that they were going to state champions, the state finals, and we allocated the money for it. The source of funding, I know we get money from waste management. We have like a couple billboards. We have some cell tower revenue and things like that. So we do actually have money in the budget for like little awards and things like that are unallocated actually. I mean, maybe this year we might have accounted for it, but I do know that we do generate some revenue, and sometimes it's a forecast, because you don't know exactly how much you're gonna generate in a certain year. So, I would suggest that we go ahead and approve the 5,000 and use it from those monies, and then just make it really clear that what it is for like national or state, competitions or state kind of events, that the kids have earned it, not just going on a field trip just to discover something. They've actually earned it through their work as students.
Dr.
Mr. Aguirre?
Yeah, I just, if everyone comes here with the same diligence that you came here with, the same, you did your due diligence, I think people should come here and ask for money. And if we have the money, then I think that we should award it for these types of events, right? It's certainly developing for these kids, just like as you mentioned. So the question isn't really about process. She came, and sorry to turn this into a big battle here, but she came here, she delivered her reasoning. It's on the agenda, it's not a shock to anybody. So we just got a check for $2,600. So why don't we use that check for $2,600 or whatever it was and have the Education Foundation submit the rest, right? I mean, that's their entire purpose. I think that we're way overcomplicating a trip, a $5,000 trip to help. I'll go find you the money, okay? It's just how long are we gonna spend on finding $5,000 for these kids to go wherever? Let's be more realistic with what our large frame concerns are here. The money exists, and I think that everyone should come up here and ask the way that she did, and they should get, if we have the money, then you give it to them.
Mr. Steele?
Well, not to berate this, I know you didn't come here to ask for money.
Yeah.
You literally were like, hey, this is happening, so, that's definitely, this is not even, it has nothing to do with you, we're so glad that you're here. Just to make this short, Dr. Pace, you talked about a national program so that we can support consistently. I mean, if we can have more information on that, I don't know why that stopped, but I think that it didn't stop. Okay. Can you tell me, I don't know anything about that, so if you can just.
Students have qualified for national level competition. Our community relations team works with them, or the adult that's in charge of that team, that group, that sponsor, to help them with fundraising, not provide the entire amount.
Okay, so it's not,
So that
okay.
there's some stake in the game, but to provide some source of fund based on the district's marketing plan, like Mr. Melendez mentioned, funds like cell phone towers and billboards, those types of things that generate income for the district above and beyond the FEFP. That's what those dollars have been used to be for.
Okay, here's Mr. Arguello. I think we've beat this. We have a motion by Mr. Arguello with a second by Mr. Bass to approve the out-of-state field trips with an additional allocation of up to $5,000 to help with that. Board, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-2.
Congratulations.
I have, y'all help me here if I'm wrong, 10.06 is next.
10.03.
That was 10.03.
That was 02.
Oh, that was 10, I'm sorry, 10.03 is next, which is the approval of Second Amendment to the service agreement between school district, American Institute of Research. John, you pulled that, I think, right?
Yeah, so I think it's all downhill from here because it only gets more complicated. So here's the thing, I was kind of surprised by this, so I just have a couple of questions. These are questions intentionally made in the public for a public answer. What is being reported through this research agreement, and what kind of documentation is being provided to this organization? And to me, I think that the information that is reported and being sent should also be part of this. Just like that young lady there came with her due diligence, I think before something like this comes before the board, then the diligence aspect should also be attached here so that we can review it for the last week. And I know I could have asked for it But it's one thing for me to learn about it back in the office behind this door. It's another thing for the entire public to be educated on this issue. So can I ask, Dr. Pace, what is being reported in this, and can you just give me a general synopsis of this agreement? Aside from what's in the contract.
Yes, ma'am. Algebra 1, Level 1. American Institute for Research has been facilitating over the course of the last 3 years an action research protocol with Algebra 1 and liberal arts math teachers at some of our high schools in order to support their improvement of practice. We have mentors and facilitators who have come to be a part of that work. Last year it was limited. They were unable to do it because they were unable to travel. We did some virtual work, but that work was scheduled to resume. And teachers who participate, because it is after hours in some respects and requires them to do more than their typical workday, have received a stipend for participating and actively working together in their professional learning communities to improve their practice through a plan, do, check, act cycle.
Do you know what that stipend is?
I believe the amount was $1,500 per teacher.
So each teacher gets $1,500 and then we get $2,500, or we get $5,000 or $7,500? Or we get $5,000. So the teacher gets $1,500, we get $5,000 to agree, but can you tell me like what type of, I'd like to see the report. I'd like to see what is being submitted, I'd like to see the information. I mean, it's I think Mr. Melendez says it a lot here on the dais, trust but verify, and to me, this does not include the information that I need to be able to vote and to extend this, because I don't know what the information is that we're passing along.
I understand, and I apologize if you believe that wasn't complete because it was a fully executed contract. This was just an adjustment in the amount. That detail was not included. I'm happy to provide a report for you, and if you'd like to pull it, we can always table it until the next board meeting. But these are dollars that go to our teachers for their work in improving their practice. This is not money that goes into the district pockets.
Well, it's $3,500, right? If they get $1,500, the amount that
Let me
that they're,
double check on the amounts, but these dollars go to the school, to the teachers.
the whole $5,000?
It goes to individual teachers, correct?
It does. It also goes to math coaches and also our district teachers that are working, our district resource teachers that are working with those schools after hours and on weekends.
But these are monies that go into the hands of our staff. Happy to provide you with more support if the board chooses to table this.
I'd love to table it and learn a little bit more, and then meet with some of the teachers that are involved to find out what the process is like. I completely trust you, Dr. Evans, but I just want to know more about this.
Is that a motion to table?
Yeah, I motion to table.
Motion to table. Is there a second? Motion dies for lack of a second.
Motion to approve item 10.3.
Second. A motion by Ms. Castillo with a second by Mr. Melendez to approve item 10.03. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Now, 10.1.
4-1.
4-1. I wrote one. I can't read. Motion brings us to item 10.06, I believe. Am I right?
Yep.
You'll help me here. And John, you pulled this one.
Yes. So I read this. This is $800,000. This contract. I read through the contract. I read through all the information that's here. However, I'm curious. Are there any conflicts of interest involved with this contract? With anyone?
None to my knowledge. This is an organization that wants to help us provide tutoring with training for those tutors in 5 of our elementary schools and 1 of our middle schools and 1 of our high schools. This is a part of our outreach under ESSER to help narrow achievement gaps caused as a result of the pandemic in our schools that had the highest rate of digital learning last year. These tutors would be background screened because they're going into our schools and trained and work with our curriculum materials and tools to help the students on a one-on-one or small group basis in reading and math.
Was this put out to bid?
because it's a service. It's a sole source in that regard, that it was not put out for an RFP.
So, but we don't know if there's anyone local that may provide this service. I mean, it's $800,000 to me. This is exactly the type of contract that should be under procurement, right?
I understand it's a significant amount. It is a service that is not provided by a lot of different organizations. They provided a sole source letter, correct?
They did. Yeah. Okay.
The board,
Motion to approve item 10.06.
Second.
a motion by Ms. Castillo with a second by Mr. Melendez to approve item 10.06. Any further discussion, board? Hearing none, seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1. Right. I believe that brings us to 11.1.
That was approved under consent because it was a.
Oh, that's the one we, okay, I just had it on here. 11.01. Next item is 12.10.
12.1?
12.1.
Yeah, this is the item. I'm very happy for RSM to be moving on this. I think that the county is watching and praying for a fair, comprehensive, and objective report. I thank RSM for taking this on, and I look forward to the end result. With that, I will motion to approve 12.10.
A motion by Mr. Aguero, a second by Mr. Bass to approve item 12.10. Board, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, like sign? Motion carries 5-0. That brings us to the start of the regular agenda. Actually brings us to our informational items. Are these all for us, or is there any information item coming to us? This is no presentations, right?
There are no presentation. If the board members have any questions about any of the information
Yeah,
provided,
any
I'm
questions,
happy
board,
to
on
answer
that?
it.
or
We also have
Do you
the,
have some questions? Okay, what,
It's 13.01.
okay, Mr. Aguero?
Yeah, so Mr. Thorne, I appreciate the flexibility in adjusting fire here. This kind of policy, because of the situation and circumstances, was a little bit rushed. Even with all good intentions, mistakes obviously happen, no matter how good someone is or how good the architect of the program is. I hope that we can keep this attitude of adjusting fire where needed and communicating with the community and the parents. I think that shows more good intentions, honesty, and professionalism. So I appreciate the fact that we are looking for these policies. I think that there's still work to be done. I have been receiving a lot of requests on this matter, so I think that there's still work to be done here, and I hope that you continue to be open as the community speaks out on this issue.
Any other comments on 13.1, 2, 3, or 4?
Yes, 1303 is in relation to 1401. It has a regular approval. And so I kind of spoke with Dr. Pace about it earlier. Now, I wish that we would have the informational item first, but they're kind of congruent. So I would like for maybe staff to kind of discuss what exactly is 1303. This is that one that we saw, whereas the New Teacher Center Corporation had a website that had some pretty disturbing information on it. And then I was told that this is just the coaching portion only, not that. And so I just wanted to get assurance of what exactly that coaching portion is involving and what is not involving. So what are like the boundaries of that?
coaching and mentoring has been a part of our strategic plan for the past 3.5 years with the New Teacher Center providing specific training for our coaches and mentors. It started with mentors in our high-need schools, 19 of them that have had a high teacher turnover rate, high levels of poverty, and as a result, some impacts on student achievement. We've seen retention improve from 70% to over 90% in those particular schools. The mentors that are involved in this training program teach students half a day or perform, for example, a content area coaching piece or MTSS coach. And then half of their day is spent working in small groups or one-on-one with first and second year teachers at those particular schools. This is not a curriculum. This is about how to work with adults and help them improve their practice to increase effectiveness more rapidly than we sometimes see, particularly in schools that have had a high teacher turnover rate, because the work is hard. And it's been even compounded more so during the course of the pandemic. We started this contract with a federal grant that provided funding both for the training materials and the contract with New Teacher Center, as well as our mentors for a half day of release time. We've expanded access to that training and access to the New Teacher Center tools, which I included for you an outline of in this information item. It includes in-person and virtual consultation, technical assistance, in-field coaching. It specifically addresses things like instructional leadership skills, an instructional coaching cycle, collaborative professional relationships, and how we work to better learn how to optimize the learning environment for our students in these particular schools. The project started under Mackenzie Bertram, who is now our ELA coordinator. Megan Derricks is now the educational specialist, who is the business owner for this work. We have two of our lead district mentors here in the room, Liz and Heidi, who have now completed the Train the Trainer training with New Teacher Center so that they can now provide training to folks in our schools. And we currently have 2 more teachers in the pipeline to develop that same internal capacity. I know that there have been some concerns about some of the equity work that's on the New Teacher Center website. That is separate from the coaching model. This program was started a long time ago specifically to support teachers. Again, the content of the training is about how to coach and improve teacher effectiveness in creating those optimal learning environments. It is not about an ELA curriculum, a history curriculum. It's not about critical race or even culturally relevant, really, so to speak, other than better understanding where our students are coming from, their context, their experience, so that we can be more effective with them in our teaching, particularly in schools that we need it most. I spoke individually with the Chief Executive Officer of the New Teacher Center, Desmond Blackburn. He is a former superintendent in Brevard Public Schools. I worked with him for 6 months. We already had a contract with New Teacher Center before Desmond left the superintendency and joined the New Teacher Center role, but he has remained in regular conversation and collaboration with our district as we've worked to kind of sustain this particular work. It's been featured at Learning Forward. It's been featured at the AASA conference in the past. It has national recognition in some respects. And again, while they are doing a module on equity in some other places, that's not the work that we're engaging with them in. And this would be year 5 to build that internal capacity, provide us with 4 trained trainers so that then our costs would go down dramatically. We would only be accessing the New Teacher Center electronic tools. So while I understand some of the reservations based on the website, Dr. Blackburn has assured me again that this is not content-based. They are a nonprofit corporation that relies a lot on conservative funding sources. They're not about critical race theory. They are about defining culturally relevant and optimal learning environments for kids to help teachers be more effective in the work. So that's the purpose, would be to be able to continue to provide that support, help our coaches be more effective, and build this internal capacity so that then we could move forward in doing a lot of this training on our own.
Mr. Wynn?
I can appreciate all that, Dr. Pace, but the fact is their website says differently. So, and they're not talking about modules. It's part of their mission. So does our mission affect our teaching?
Certainly, and since
So
I've
then their
become the
mission must
superintendent-
also affect what they're doing, their product. Just like wherever I've worked, my mission was the focus of what we were doing. So there's no way that an effective company can establish a mission and then provide a product that has nothing to do with that mission. It goes beyond a piece or a component or, if you believe in this, you can buy this module. No, this is in the DNA of this organization. And if it's in the DNA of this organization, when they are providing that service to our school district, it's in there. At least that's what I speculate, at least. Was this put out to bid, this contract?
No, sir. Again, it was a new teacher center. We've been working with them this is our year 5 of a contract extension. It was selected through a process with a federal grant in partnership with them.
Is this the final year, or is it go on?
From this, we would have our internal capacity built. Our only idea would be to use their electronic tools, and there would be a fee for that, but it goes down dramatically. And again, I go back to the fact that we have, from the very beginning of my superintendency, had a focus on all means all, making sure that we're serving every child. And that's not just a saying, we work to do it. And we work to do
So
that
it's
by
part of our
understanding our kids.
Right?
Our mission is responsible, productive citizens, all of them, helping
Right.
all children reach that potential.
Well, here's the thing, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because this is my son, my youngest son, okay? You can't tell in this picture, blonde hair, blue eyes. This is also my son, not blonde, not blue-eyed. I don't want either one of these two children, students, this is a young man now, to be treated any differently than one another. I don't want anyone telling one that his life means one thing and his life means something else. These are my two kids, and I want them treated exactly the same wherever there is opportunity for them. And I don't, when I read what was on the website of this company, I know that's not their mission. Their mission is to do exactly the opposite of that. So I'm extremely uncomfortable. I think that a lot of members of the community are uncomfortable with this, and we should heed what the community is saying. To ignore what they're saying is to say that we are superseding the parents' responsibility of teaching the philosophies that they want to raise their children by. And that's something that I'm completely uncomfortable with. I know that you're saying that this is a coaching issue. They're never going to speak about this issue. It's not part of the curriculum. Well, here's the thing. If I believe, and I know that this is not critical race theory necessarily, I don't know. But let's say that it were. And this is critical race theory. Not only are we just brushing aside what the state government has said, but what we're doing is placing ourselves ahead, in between the parents and their children. And that's just wrong. And I'm completely uncomfortable doing that. If it's in a company's DNA, you know what I would like to see, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna motion for this to be tabled, and then let's get a letter from this company stating that there is absolutely no ideology or intention to speak of ideology in any of this preparation of this curriculum, or this coaching, or mentoring, or whatever it may be. Personally, I think that the teachers that we have inside of our district should be coaching the other teachers. It makes them better coaches. It makes our teachers better. It creates a bond within our community. And it's not only is it not using the money wisely, but it's also not using our people wisely. So based upon that, I will, I'll yield, Chairman.
Mr. Melendez, you're next, and then Ms. Castillo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I actually looked at the informational item, and I looked at the curriculum for the coaching piece. And if you look at it on page 7, there's a session called PLSI 5. And it says creating conditions. Can everybody hear me?
No.
Yes, in the informational item of the agenda for the coaching piece. I'm not talking about the whole mission statement of them. On page 7, there's a session called PLSI 5, creating conditions for equitable instruction. And as one of the outcomes, it lists number 1, reflect on one's own beliefs and biases and their impact on teaching and learning. And also number 3, understand how social identities impact perspective and mentoring practice. So that one session alone is in contradictory statement to what we're trying to say, that this isn't about, racial identity or anything like that. This isn't about promoting at least that specific module or that session. So the only way that I can support this, if that session is not in existence and the coaching can just be on.
Okay.
With that, I'll motion to.
Well, this is an
It's
informational
still on the
item.
informational item. I just want to let you know that specifically it states racial identities and their biases And to me, that's in alignment with their mission statement, and that's in alignment with critical race theory or subsidiary or derivatives. And that's something that I cannot support.
This is an informational item that we're on right here, agenda-wise.
Yes.
Any other comment? Oh, Ms. Castillo, I thought you turned.
No.
You off? Any other items? There's 02 and 04. Any other, buddy, have any comments there? Okay, if not, that moves us to the regular agenda. Before we start this, would anybody be opposed to taking, we've been here almost 2 hours, about a 5-minute break?
Yeah, thank you.
Recess?
Yeah.
We'll be right back. Appreciate y'all's patience with us here tonight. Next item on the agenda is 14.01, which I'm hoping we've kind of had some of the conversation on that already. But there are several people here who have asked to speak on this issue. And I believe we'll do that first before the board gets to it. You've heard all the speech before. You get 3 minutes to address the board. Please give us your name and address for the record. I really don't care if there's a little bit of clapping or something after somebody speaks. But I want us to be civil. And if people start screaming out at the person speaking or screaming out at the board, we will have to ask you to leave the room. So I think we can get through this. We've done a great job the last couple of weeks. But we want to get through this civilly, expeditiously, and we can get started. John, is your light on?
Yes, but let them speak first, yeah.
Oh, okay. Can we turn you off then?
Yeah.
First up is Mark Peters. Please would give us your name and address for the record, and you know the drill, 3 minutes. I'm gonna ask everybody, please stick with the 3 minutes too. We've got 20 or 30 of these tonight, so.
Good evening. Thank you for having me here. My name is Mark Peters, Kissimmee, Florida. On the sign right up front of where your pictures are lovely displayed. By the way, lately many of us have seen a lot of school board meetings. You guys sit in the dark. On YouTube, you guys are looking, right now some of you are in the shade, so even though you handle the mic situation a little better, it's still not good, but it's better. But you're sitting in the dark, like you're trying to hide. We need some more lighting. It doesn't look good on video. But anyway, so
thank you. I've never looked at the video.
So on the signage on the wall right below your names, it says, "It's responsible, productive citizens." Your goal is to help facilitate that. But the very first word, it says, "Inspiring all learners." We inspire by setting example. We inspire by being the example. Every time we look across America, school board members have been trying to undermine the law. They're trying to go around the law. They're trying to find a way under and above and around the mask mandate. Soon it's going to be a vaccine mandate. Whatever it is that comes up, you guys are looking for ways to undermine the law. Yet, you're looking to inspire the students that you are governing to keep the law, to keep rules, to follow in line and step at school while you guys sit on the board members, from the superintendent to all of you, looking for ways to break the law of the state. How is that setting an example of students? My kids, my son was diagnosed with COVID, but he followed every step that board member Melendez set in place by wearing a mask. He's a guy that washes his hand every 2 seconds and then uses sanitizer on top of that. He follows every instruction, yet he's the one that contracted the virus. All of us at home, we don't always wear masks when I go out. I thought I would have been the one to bring it home. He was the one. So then while the mask is always being pushed, and you guys are going to continue it probably after today's date, we've seen the numbers drop. But do you really know when someone comes home testing positive, how long it takes for the school to start quarantining students? 4 days. That's long after a student has been tested positive in the school. I pulled him out. He couldn't get the quick test, was not acceptable. It had to be a PCR. It takes 2 days. So by the time he gets tested, it's past the time. And yet students that are around him are waiting 4 days. So it's not, but obviously you see, it's not as contagious as it says it is, because all of the students would have been infected in that classroom that he's switching rooms. But you guys looking for ways, what I'm trying to say tonight, and I'll wrap it up, is that follow the law, because you're asking our students and you're trying to inspire them to follow the law. Thank you very much.
Next up is Lori Pate, and followed by Deborah Mann.
Lori Pate, 5025 Haywood, Rough and Road, St. Cloud. I too just want to speak on the new teacher center. I know Mr. Aguelo brought this up and I'm so glad he did. I don't think we pick and choose. on their website, centered on students, advancing equity issues, supporting new teachers. Sounds great, right? Let us dig a little deeper. We gotta fully understand what the NTC is about. We have to answer a couple questions. What is equity? Because it is all over that website. And who's promoting, and more importantly, funding the project. Equity is spreading like wildfire and showing up increasingly in organizations' missions and values statements. The problem is not only are many confused by the term equity, but few also have a clear, common definition of what equity is. Due to time constraints and to save some of you some embarrassment, I will not ask each of you the meaning of equity, but I can assure you that there would not be a common definition between you. So what is equity? It's a system set up to reward good enough with the same equity as blood, sweat, and tears. It means equal outcomes for all students. Yes, all students should be given the same opportunities in the classroom, which they are, regardless of their race, gender, color, disabilities, language spoken, family income. These students sit in the same classroom with the same materials, with the same teacher. This is called equality, not equity. Yes. According to the New Teacher Center, we underserve BIPOC students. Do you know what BIPOC is? Black, Indigenous, people of color, who according to their mission statements still bear the impact of slavery and genocide from the website. English language learners, students with learning differences. According to the New Teacher Center, we underserve these students. That is simply not true. Not in my classroom and not in any teacher's classroom I know. These students actually receive extra support and even special exemptions on state mandated tests. They are not underserved, and to say so does not speak too highly of our district. Again, equity is equal outcomes for everyone. I do not know about you, but if I work hard, I don't want the same reward as someone who does the minimum or nothing at all. That's equity. Now that we've learned about what NTC promotes, let us answer question 2. Who promotes and supports this program? And I don't have a lot of time, but let me read a couple. Excuse me?
You got about 15 seconds.
Add 15 more because you interrupted me.
Excuse me.
Ballmer Group, Microsoft, Big Tech. Morgan Family promotes social equity, global warming. To name a few,
Ms. Payne?
racial equity, seeks
Ms.
to
Payne,
divide.
Do you want me to ask the deputy to have you sit down? Your time is up. And I've asked you, and I've been polite to you. Next up is Deborah Mann, followed by Vanessa Bryant.
Hi there, Deborah Mann, 1180 Sungrove Lane, St. Cloud, Florida. I'm glad Mr. Arguello mentioned due diligence when we're looking into some of these things, because we have spent well over $300,000 with new teacher centers since July of last year. And our last meeting, someone mentioned that it's just to help new teacher retention. But on the budget paper or whatever this is we print off from the school board website, it does say that the contractor shall provide support for all K through 12 teachers on the new ELA standards and the newly adopted ELA curriculum. And we've already talked about the mission of the new teacher center. But there are 2 other things that I found when I was looking up new teacher center. There's a company called Edgenuity that we've been in contract with since September of last year. We spent almost $300,000 with them. It says the contractor grants a limited non-exclusive license to use Edgenuity LMS products and will work together to implement the required 6th through 12th grade mental health training. So you can click on their Edgenuity page and you can go to the LMS and it says point made, look deeper into race. You click on it and it talks about their equity and inclusion mission, and when you go down to their anti-racism curriculum, it says we have partnered with Point Made Learning to offer Look Deeper, a 3-hour digital learning experience built around the documentary I'm Not Racist, Am I? I would ask all of you to go on YouTube and look up the Point Made learning video. I don't think anybody will like it. So then the other company is EverFi. Let's see. We've had a contract with them from this June to 2023, memorandum of understanding between the Osceola School Board to facilitate provision of classroom instruction through digital learning, cultural literacy, and history, and the SEL, with interactive lessons and games for K through 12 students. So when you click on EverFi, you get Anti-Racism Extension Guide for Teachers. So there's a whole packet here. I'm just going to talk about the first two because I didn't need to go any further. The first one says White Privilege, Unpacking the Invisible Knapsack. Here you go, children. Describing white privilege makes one newly accountable. But there's plenty of information you can read, and you guys will be getting all of these links in an email so you can go through it. The second bullet that you hyperlink is racist attitudes and behavior. Not sure if you knew it or not, but we have 28 common racist attitudes and behaviors. By saying we are not different, we don't see color, you're also not seeing your whiteness. The rugged individual, the level playing field, and bootstrap theory. Well, you know what? That's just wrong because it's saying America is the land of opportunity.
Go ahead and wrap it up.
Okay? And it says belief in the propaganda. Now, evidently, America is the land of opportunity is propaganda. Belief in this propaganda is founded on a total denial of the impact of either oppression or privilege on any person's chance for success.
Thank you.
Plenty to read, I'll send you the link.
Next up is Vanessa Bryant, followed by Laura McAdams.
Okay, can you hear me?
Try it again.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can now.
Okay. My name is Vanessa Bryant, 590 Cody Allen Court, St. Cloud. I will begin by asking questions which I know I won't get an answer to tonight, but will need to be answered in the days ahead. Do you believe critical race theory is true? Do you believe white children and their parents are responsible for oppression in this country? That white teachers, students, and people need deprogrammed and re-educated concerning their white supremacy? Do you believe gender identity is a critical education priority in teaching children reading, writing, math, science, history, and critical thinking skills? Do you believe that equity or equal outcomes by group is beneficial for our children rather than equal opportunity for successful lives? Critical race theory demeans people of color as portraying them as oppressed and victims while blaming white people for their lack of opportunity. This is a lie and it's evil at its core, and that's where racism is taught. These ideologies are a Marxist belief system which have no place in our schools. The social emotional learning sounds really wonderful till you begin to research it and find that it's an avenue for safe spaces for gender and sexual orientation. What purpose does this serve in the education of our students? It is not a state standard and has no place in our classrooms. Until these issues are removed. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I don't read my paper. Oh, here we go. These ideologies have been banned by our governor and state board of education. However, programs being adopted in our schools may not be titled CRT, but as we investigate and receive evidence from teachers, students, and parents in this community, we know it is here and it continues. Reading coaches have been trained on Coaching for Equity, which is a full-blown out attack on white racism and privilege. The book is full of it. Music teachers and art teachers were trained in LGBTQ+ and decentering whiteness in classrooms. The presenter that trained those teachers was a full-on Black Lives Matter critical race theory supporter. She is fully supportive of whiteness ideology. The new added training book has been added full of gender identity and quite a lot of CRT and white privilege, which was not done several years ago. So until these issues are removed from our schools and teachers who continue to thumb their noses at the law are disciplined for it. We will not drop this, will not move forward to make the governor and state board aware. We do not want this in our children's education, and we expect you to deal with it, not ignore it any longer. Do your jobs or step down. What you do with your personal life is your business, but what you do with our children is our business. And I want to say this. I met this summer with two of you sitting here. I was supposed to get a follow-up with my pastor and you. We never heard back from you. We emailed, I was ignored. Mr. Arguello, I want to thank you for listening, and I want to thank you for stepping up and stopping things that are happening. And I suggest that the rest of you start working with him for the people in this county.
Next up, Laura McAdams, followed by Tammy Fitzgibbon.
Please hand those out and prepare those for all of you to have. Good evening, members of the board. My name is Laura McAdams. I live in St. Cloud, Florida. I know you really don't enjoy me being here, but you know what? Someone's got to do it, right? So first of all, I have 4 questions, and I expect all this to be prepared and ready for the parents of Osceola County here that show concern for our students. I would like for you to provide a list of entities that provide financial support to the Osceola County School Board and any of its subsidiaries. This list is in your folders, so you don't forget. It's a reminder. Provide a list of all persons, employees of school board, companies, individuals, etc., who contribute to the creation of the annual curriculum for the years 2019, 2020, and 2021. Provide all the work product that led to the creation of the curriculum of 2019, 2020, 2021, and then provide the written explanation regarding school board not conforming to the state-issued mandate to refrain from including critical race theory in the curriculum, which you've heard directly from teachers from some of your schools. So I also had the liberty and was able to collect the training book that was used over the summer to train on critical race theory and equity and all kinds of things. And page 101, how to talk about race. Page 77, how to understand race, racism, and white supremacy. I mean, not just that. I've also got my hands on an Avid book from this year, 2021. Chapter 7 is loaded. I've provided some copies of some of the little things that are in there, highlighted. So if you think that this is going to end and we're going to stop, we're not. I'm here to make you very aware that I promise, and I keep my promises, I'm going to make sure that I get everything I can to our governor, however I can. I'm not going to stop. I have the backup of parents. Yes. We're all going to work together. Parents, teachers, anyone that comes out and speaks out. I'm not afraid. As you see my shirt today, God gives me the strength, and I will do what I need to do through God's given right. We're going to protect our children from this nonsense. Not just that, but I also have copies. They're in there. A nice list from your media center of LGBTQ. Community, finding your LGBTQ, are you alone? The letter Q, pride, celebrating diversity. I mean, the list goes on. We're a girl and what's his name? I mean, what is this? What are you guys teaching our kids? That NTC program? Yeah, it isn't what we're being told by our superintendent. And she's approving all these things, along with the school board members, because you guys aren't even going through these things clearly. But, you know, parents are wide awake now. We're gonna be paying attention and we're not gonna stop. So figure it out. Mr. Arguello is on our side, Mr. Melendez as well, on some of these things. So I suggest you all jump on board with that and do what's right by the children.
Next up, Tammy Fitzgibbon, followed by Chris Fontenot.
Tammy Fitzgibbon at Kissimmee, Florida. I'm going to continue with what she said. I came across this. A boy dressed in a woman's clothes at Gateway High School. Inappropriate, don't need to be there. Why is it there? I'm here again to address that George Floyd's sticker is still on the door of one of the teachers at Gateway. This is my third time up here about the same subject. And it's been up there since the beginning of school. I brought it to your attention on September 7th. Here it is, October 5th, still there. So my question is to you and to especially the one who's over Gateway High School, are you lazy to pick up the phone? Or even to go down and visit the principal and address the issue? Or are you a coward and don't want to address the issue and get it taken off the door? What needs to be on the door is the cross. Religious stuff, not George Floyd, that's doing nothing for our kids. I don't want my kids knowing about a thug. Why do we want it there? We're not going to tolerate it. It's inappropriate and our kids don't need it. With that, I'm gonna close with a Bible verse of Proverbs 15:3. The Lord is watching everywhere, keeping his eyes on both the evil and the good. And then it says, at times it seems that God has let evil run rampant in the world, and we wonder if he even notices it. But God sees everything clearly, both the evil actions and the evil intentions lying behind them. He is not the indifferent observer. He cares and he is active in our world. Right now, his work may be unseen and unfelt, but don't give up. One day, he will wipe out the evil and punish the evildoers, just as he will establish the good and reward those who do his will. You're our board. You're supposed to be here for our children. What's being taught, the folders that you guys got, the thing that I just showed you, is evil and it's not good. Yes.
Chris, Osceola? Said it wrong twice, tell me how to say it.
You're close, it's Fontenot.
Oh, no, okay. Those were my two choices, I'm sorry. Thank you, Ms. Fontenot.
My name is Chris Fontenot, and I live on Gary Drive in St. Cloud. I'm here today to address the misguided attempt by the school district to impede on the rights of parents. This district has demonstrated that it cannot be trusted. Not only have there been attempts to silence and shut down the one board member who is speaking out against corruption, but also trying to assert yourselves as guardians for our children when your role is the educator. To be clear, your job is to teach our kids how to add, subtract, multiply, spell, and learn other traditional and academic subjects. You're violating Florida law by the parents' rights by interjecting your political beliefs, ideas, and equity or ideology. I think we all know what I'm talking about here. You're also putting some really good teachers in unfair and offensive positions by requiring them to participate in training on certain subject matters. Again, I think we all know what I'm talking about. The majority of the school district refuses to be transparent regarding these issues and has made a blatant attempt to defy Governor DeSantis' orders. Without addressing anyone specifically, only one of you has had the conviction and courage to speak out truthfully and treat parents like they should have a voice in their children's education. I think we all know who that is. The rest of you should be ashamed of your inability to protect the community and our kids from your corrupt and immoral ideologies. Don't worry, the majority of us parents won't forget who you are when it's time for re-election. And I'll make it my personal mission to see that you're replaced with individuals who will do what's right for our future generation. I want to leave you with this. Others may be blinded or ignorant to what progressive, equity, culturally responsive, culturally relevant, inclusive environment, etc. really are, but I'm not. I grew up in a public school system who taught these ideologies. It teaches kids division and not to unite. It teaches them to focus on our differences rather than appreciate and accept them. It provides kids with an excuse to use their environment as a crutch instead of working to overcome it. It leads some kids to feel ashamed, depressed, and increased anxiety. It leads to consequences you cannot erase. I should know because I grew up in Portland, Oregon, and look how that turned out.
Becky Burnett?
Is this about the NTC?
something else.
You didn't have what you want to speak to, is that what you want to speak to?
No. I mean, is there a public comment or can I speak out?
Which are you speaking to?
Not MTC.
Okay, no, I'll move you. I'm sorry, you didn't have anything, so I wasn't sure what you were here for. And the last one, Brooke, Sabella's means, or is this you said curriculum, is this what you want?
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry.
had to read the tea leaves a little bit there.
Hi. My daughter has been in Avid since last year. I first learned about the program from another mother who said that it was a wonderful class which kids get involved in their communities, assist in preparation of college, teaches interview skills, and sort of pushes them ahead of the game. I encouraged my daughter to sign up because of course I wanted what every parent wants for their child the best, and it sounded like this class could provide her with an advantage. I assumed that is what she had been receiving and never been given a reason to question otherwise. However, recently I've come across numerous videos where parents express their concerns with certain doctrines and theories that have been baked into curriculums, as well as controversial activities like privilege walks. The most concerning to me was the CRT, which is the doctrine of conflict politics, and teaches how to segregate people based on immutable characteristics like one's skin color. This theory has seen recent changes in name and acronyms, presumably due to its controversy, or maybe the change is to create a backdoor to sneak into curriculums where it has been banned by governors like ours in Florida. One can find CRT and wokeism, or under other acronyms like DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Sounds great. Everyone should be on board with those terms, but it's a deception. It's the same wolf of CRT wearing sheep's clothing and continuing to promote division. People are labeled privileged and underprivileged, oppressed and oppressor due to their individual melanin content. I think it is evil to judge someone based on the color of their skin, and have made it a priority of my parenting to teach my children to judge people by the content of their character. These recent findings led me to look a little deeper into what my children were being taught. I was pretty confident that since our governor had banned these things, I was going to come up empty-handed, and thankfully so. You can imagine my disappointment when I looked at Chapter 7 of the Teacher's Manual for the Avid class. It is the chapter where you will find pages titled with equity, inclusive language for sexual orientation and which gender identity expression, colorblindness, the new racism. And yes, in section 7.6a, you will find the privilege walk. Why is this here? Although the government of Florida has made it clear that this subject matter is not to be taught in our schools, the district appears to have disregarded the state law, as its content can be found in Avid programs spread across the entire district. This demonstrates that the district is one of two things: either it is acting completely in a lawless manner, or it has lost control of the district. In either case, the district leadership has lost my confidence in its ability to lead and, more importantly, protect the children intellectually and serve the community by extending a public education which is both high quality and without political agenda. I'm pretty new to all this stuff, but I have watched previous school board meetings online, and it has been made abundantly clear that through the work of one school board member who has been fighting to increase transparency.
This means your time's up, go ahead and wrap it up.
The majority of the board, along with the superintendent, have been working just as hard to prevent this transparency. Therefore, I would like the district to answer the question: is it hiding what it is doing and ignoring state law? I pray for all of you guys. I pray that God gives you the wisdom and courage to do what's right and remove this from Avid and anywhere else it may be hiding. Thank you.
Another one I'm not sure about, Angela and Angelica McKinney, is this the item you're here to speak on?
No,
Okay, you just had it was on the agenda now, so I wasn't sure.
I didn't know which number it was.
Do you know what it is, so I don't wanna miss it?
It's gonna be two different things.
At the end, different topics.
Okay. Do you have an agenda in your hand?
No, I didn't bring it out.
When we get close, wave at me, and I mean, when we start talking about it, because I'm not sure which okay, fair enough? All right, that is all the people I have on my list.
Mr. Chairman,
yes, that I believe wish to speak on.
I am recommending to the board that you table this matter. I want to legally research some issues that we brought up and confirm. And go back.
All right, do we need a motion and a vote on that to table it?
Do we need
I want to speak on the issue.
Huh?
I want to speak on the issue.
Well, let's,
I just don't want you acting on it.
No,
Tonight, I want it tabled, I want to read.
so can you, we need a motion, or if y'all want to table it, we need a motion. If you don't want,
Excuse me, we were supposed to, our names were out there.
I'm sorry, what,
Ashley Dow and Robin.
this says mask on this sheet. If you'd like to speak on this topic, that's fine, but it said mask.
Is that a problem?
Well, it's not, this is not the agenda item that we're talking about.
You'll get time to speak, they'll be
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I thought this was just,
That's okay.
I thought this was just here, the audience.
That's, these people have specific issues on an item on the agenda. The audience piece is a little further down, which is general.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
We misunderstood, this is our first time.
No, you're fine, it's good you asked.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'm recommending this matter be tabled because I want to, one, review the governor's order position. I want to talk with the Department of Education, and I want to review what's been raised tonight.
Be
Be
fine.
able to give you proper legal guidance at the next meeting.
Somebody like to make a motion to table this?
Motion to table 1401.
go second, sir.
I have a motion by Mr. Melendez, with a second by Mr. Bass, to table item 14.01 for legal counsel review. Board, any further? I know you want to talk.
I will on this issue, on this.
Let's do it right. Well, before we vote, let's
Right.
talk.
Yeah.
So
So,
you have some questions.
yes, so here's the thing, my hesitancy to table this is because we have a practice of tabling something until the opportunity to pass it arises. I think that's completely intransparent and non-transparent, and we should get away from that practice. I think that we've heard enough today, and I think that we know enough about this organization to reject this and find an organization that provides this same service if necessary, if we cannot use our own teachers for this, and reject it. I can't get away from the idea that for my blonde son, 2 + 2 = 4, that for my brown son, visibly brown, and they're both brown obviously, 2 + 2 = 3 through 5 maybe. There's just something so innately wrong and un-American about that. That happens in places like where my parents are from. It should not be happening here in the United States. The idea that we are going to, let's say, maybe this is not CRT, but it's definitely something like it. And that's not it's not the intent of our governor, and it's certainly not the American way, right? And I think that Mark, Mr. Peters, just said something that got me to my core, which is we're trying to get around the law by changing the name or aspect, or you change the logo, or, it's a technicality.
Yes.
And there's something so wrong. Why is it so hard for this school district to open up the book, so to speak, and be honest with the community? It's the same thing with masks, the same thing with this, the same thing with Avid. Why is it so hard for the people on this dais to just come out and be honest with the people, tell them what we're doing, allow them to react, listen to what they've said, because in the end, we work for them, they are the boss, and what they say goes.
Yes.
Right? Why is it so, why is it, I mean, it's just like, it seems so foreign to this place, and I get it. Before, it used to be 5-0, everybody would go have dinner afterwards, it was such a friendly environment, but what a sacrifice to the community. God only knows what the past, whoever how many years, happened around here, because nobody knows. It's a void, it's a black hole of governance. It's not the best way to do things. It's not the best way it's not about good governance. And you know what? Left or right, it affects every single person.
Yes.
When this school district, when this government body is not transparent, it affects every person. And I guarantee you, if there's somebody who's racist up here, it's not gonna be me. It's not gonna be me. But here I am protecting my 2 kids, because what you're doing is telling one that he's got a certain life and another that he doesn't. You're telling one to view life one way, you're telling the other one to view it a different way. And it's not your damn business. It's my business. Those are my kids. I'm raising my sons to have the same expectations out of life based upon their work, not based upon their physical appearance. And I resent any organization that comes and tells me, just like that doctor did over masks, that I don't love my kid if I don't do what he says. I guarantee you there's nobody in this room who loves my kids more than I do, and I will fight like hell on their behalf under every single circumstances I'm given the opportunity to, and even where I'm not given the opportunity to. And this right here, it's a travesty to the parents because it's not us. We're not all of these kids' parents. You raise your own kids, okay?
Yes.
I'll raise mine. Your job is to teach all of these kids to the best degree that you can, to do the best job you can for them, to spend the people's money that are sitting out here and at home wisely. That's your job. Your job is not to tell them what your political beliefs are. I don't do that. I don't go around, I don't walk through classrooms and say, hey, yay, you know what, you better vote this way. Hey, you gotta do this. Hey, you gotta do this. Let's not do that at all.
Yes.
Let's not provide anyone with the opportunity to teach anything besides 2 + 2 = 4 for every single person, regardless of what their physical appearance is, regardless of what their background is, regardless of how much money their parents make, regardless of whether you live in St. Cloud or Poinciana. Every child should be receiving the same education. But if we're telling one child that this is what he should be thinking based on what his appearance, and this one should be thinking something different based on his, especially one should be thinking that he's guilty of something, it's just wrong. It is un-American. It's not the way. Teach these kids some compassion and respect for one another. Teach these kids to be responsible. Teach these kids to understand the circumstances that they're in this country and teach them to overcome. Don't teach them to hate one another, because that's exactly what programs like this are doing, whether we want to admit it or not. And the difference here is that we're just paying somebody $800,000 to do that service. No, thank you. No, thank you. I'm going to get a motion on the table, and there's a second. I'm ready to motion to kill this.
Have a motion by Mr. Melendez, a second by Mr. Bass to table this item for legal counsel to do the research on some of the comments that people made. So no other comments. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1. Moves us to item 15, board, on the regular agenda.
Motion to approve item 1501.
Do a one or the group?
Oh, sorry, motion to approve 1503. I didn't know that something had been pulled, I apologize.
No problem. Have a motion by Ms. Castillo with a second by Mr. Melendez to approve item 1503, which are the human resource items. Board, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, like sign. Aye. Motion carries 4-1. Business and finance, 16.01, board. You tell me you had another, didn't you? Yeah, he's down.
Okay, motion to approve 1601.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Castillo with a second by Mr. Bass to approve item 16.01. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. Public comment. Now's the general. Ashley Dow. And Ashley will be followed by Becky Burnett. All right, Ashley, you have three minutes, and floor is yours.
All right, good evening, board members. Here we are 20 months into this, and we are still debating over mask mandates. We all, well, most of us know that masks have been made extremely political. We know this because we, the community, have watched you up here trying to mandate masks, yet our events and parties unmasked. I had no idea COVID takes time off and picks and chooses where or who it wants to infect. This is the biggest example of hypocrisy. If you are truly concerned about the safety, why are you unmasked, especially at large events? How is this fair to our teachers and students? What example are you setting? If you try to argue that you're vaccinated, again, the science shows that you can still get and transmit COVID even if you are vaccinated. Hence why Fauci and the CDC said the vaccinated should still continue mask wearing in crowded areas. I personally know people who are vaccinated and wear masks, yet still contracted COVID. I am asking that we stop with the mandates. We are raising a generation of depressed, fearful, insecure germaphobes. My neighbor's child who contracted COVID cried and told his mother he was going to die because of the fear that was instilled in him for months. My children had COVID and their symptoms were extremely mild. So mild, my son was fishing every day. I understand COVID can be detrimental and even deadly for a very small percentage, but we all have to be responsible for our own healthcare and parents for their children's. If you care so much about the health of our children, how about mandate schools to provide healthy, minimally processed organic food, free from pesticides, food dyes, additives, and excess sugar, which is known to feed disease and illness. I kept my children home all of last school year because I didn't feel it was healthy for them to be in masks 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. They wanted to be back in school with their peers, so I sent them back this year. If you mandate masks or even consider mandating the vaccine, I will be homeschooling my children for the remainder of their education. Our pediatrician does not recommend my children to wear masks or be vaccinated. These types of medical decisions should be between the parents and their doctors. It does not belong in politics. Viruses have been around for billions of years and will always be around. We have to learn to take care of our immune system and adapt. I appreciate your time this evening. Thank you for allowing me to address you with my concerns.
Yes. Next up, Becky Burnett, followed by Angelica McKinney. Ms. Burnett, you know the drill here.
Becky Burnett, Osceola County. Civil disobedience, a form of resistance without violence. My 8th grade son at Harmony Middle School told me he eats lunch outside. He then gave me the details of his lunch experience. Inside the cafeteria, only one side of the table was down, and the students are way spaced out. Outside, where he eats, a concrete block enclosure with one wall open, no breeze, setting at picnic tables, touching the students next to him. I suppose it's like this because the flu can only spread indoors. He said he sweats like a dog, but he's also worried what it will be like in December and January and it's 40 degrees outside. I was then given a complete rundown of how lunchtime is handled. Students go to a lunch classroom, then led to the cafeteria on a time frame, not right away, so they're made to wait. This is in their lunchtime, eating time. They're led like kinder students, not like the middle schoolers they are, like when we were kids giving us responsibility and pride to do something on our own. They have to sit at their assigned table and wait until they are told by the lunch teacher they can get their food. He did tell me the teacher has forgotten to take them a time or two to the lunch line until there was like 5 minutes left. She walked off and got to talking and forgot to take them to the lunch line. He said he was able to shove one bite of food in his mouth before he was told he had to leave. Both of my boys told me every day, when the kids that come in last are getting their food, teachers are already coming and leading the students back to class and hovering over them, waiting for them to eat. I can't even begin to explain how I feel about this. The anxiety the students must feel trying to shove food in before they are made to leave. And I know school lunch may be the only meal some of these kids in this county get in a day. I don't know when adults thought this was acceptable to serve some crappy food and then give them 10 minutes to shove it down. It damn sure was not this way when I was a kid, and I know it wasn't like this for any of y'all. This is not acceptable, and this is where civil disobedience comes in. As of tomorrow, my son has our permission to say no. No to eating outside, and no to getting 5 minutes to eat. He will sit there until he's done. They can send him to the office. They can call me. He's not going to leave the school. He's going to go back to class. One more thing, it's just a slight NTC. I'm concerned with the core values of NTC, but I'm just as concerned that the board members approved it 4 times before. Did y'all not know what was in it before? Did y'all not do your homework?
Next up, Ms. Kenny, followed by Robin Ward. After that,
American East 60 Branch 4, St. Cloud, Florida. The first part is just a question about when the teachers are missing for whatever reason. So my question is, what is an acceptable number of hours a student should be sent to the auditorium or the media center per month? Who do we need to hold accountable for it? We don't send kids to school for babysitting services. My property taxes go to education, and that is what is expected. Now, the second part is just the news, and you probably guys heard that I'm gonna read some of it. And it's basically about the Biden administration that wants to use the FBI agents against us, parents, to intimidate us for speaking out against things like critical race theory or COVID mandates as an example. The National School Board Association requests a joint expedited review by the U.S. Department of Justice, Education, and Homeland Security, along with the appropriate training, coordination, investigations, and enforcement mechanisms from the FBI. The DOJ wants to create a task force that will have members from the department's Criminal Division, National Security Division, Civil Rights Division, the Executive Office for U.S. Attorneys, the FBI, the Community Relations Services, and the Office of Justice Programs, and that will use to determine how federal enforcement tools can be used to prosecute these crimes. Now, these crimes are basically parents speaking up and demanding for the school boards to listen and do the right thing. I don't know where you will be standing on this topic, but I think we need to be reminded that we are not domestic terrorists, as the National School Board Association referred to us. Neither we are domestic extremists, as the DOJ suggested. We parents come here to express our concerns of issues we see that are not right, and because we elected you, we want to give you an opportunity to correct them and find solutions. But if you try to please and fall into the tyrannical style of the Biden administration, then you are telling us that there is no reason for us to give you any more chances. So if in order to make sure our kids get the education they deserve, you need to be recalled, then that's what we will do, except John.
Yes. Thank you, John.
up Robin Ward, followed by
Hi, my name is Robin Ward, and I am the parent of a freshman at Harmony High School. I am here this evening to respectfully ask that you do not mandate masks for our children. Please leave that choice up to the parents. There is so much data to say that masks are not effective and they do not work. My son attended school last year while wearing a mask all day, every day, but I will never do that again. The masks have had so many negative impacts on our kids. They increase bacterial and viral infections, increase the risk of cavities, which my son had one for the first time ever, lack of oxygen, increased CO2 retention, dizziness, headaches, shortness of breath, anxiety, and brain damage to younger children, just to name a few. COVID poses almost no risk to our children at all. The survivability rate for our children is 99.99%. This is per the CDC numbers. COVID cases are down by 53% in the last 14 days in Osceola County, and 78% of kids 12 and up are vaccinated. COVID isn't going away anytime soon, and I would hope that you do not propose to mask our kids indefinitely. Our kids have a greater risk of getting in an accident on their way to school than they do of dying of COVID. There is a higher risk of our kids dying of influenza, and no one has ever mandated masks for that. Why not? Do you have any idea what kind of physical and psychological damage that you are doing to our children by forcing them to cover their faces? thinking that the air that is toxic and that everyone around them is sick. You are all dehumanizing our children, and you know this is your job to protect our children. Wait, I'm sorry, I think I got that wrong.
It sounded good.
Okay, we'll leave it. Your job is to protect our children first and educate them. You are not elected to do anything else. I realize that vaccine mandates have not been discussed at the school board, but I would like to say that if you ever try and mandate vaccines, you will have a mass exodus of students in this county. I also just have another little thing. There's social media, and you know it's everywhere, and there are some pictures of people on your board who, funny, they are in a group, they have no mask on, but yet you find them in a picture by themselves, they have masks. Is this for theater? What is this? So what is this? Do as I say, not as I do? I just ask you guys, please don't mandate masks for our children anymore. Please.
Yes.
And thank you guys very much for your time.
All right, this next person, I'm gonna damage this terribly. P-Jack? That close?
Fajak.
Fajak.
Fajak. Good evening, board. My name is Tuja Fajak, and my address is 501 Ohio Avenue in St. Cloud. This evening, I want to address a systematic problem with the school district. That problem is a lack of trust and transparency. I have not been actively involved in politics, but that has piqued my interest. But even then, I was not inclined to come speak out. It was not until the school district, in all of its wisdom, made the decision that they would give every child an electronic device without any input at all from teachers or parents. Then the Good Governance Task Force, as it was called, made perfect sense. The concerns Arguello brought forth became clear. This is about good governance, meaning policies that take into account a complete consideration of all the different aspects before going full force and making it a community problem. Let me explain what I mean by that. I have a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old child that brought home a document that stated they would be responsible for maintaining, charging, and taking this device from home and to school every day. In that letter, it also stated that I would be financially liable for this device even though there was no itemization or description of what device it would be or how much value it carried. As a parent, I intentionally have not provided my children any electronic devices. So not only is there a simple question about the policy and the process in which this was done, but the lack of communication with the community, including parents and teachers, which has led to a policy which is clumsy and does not make any sense. Also, how do I know what this device is bringing into my home? Has the district asked me if I am okay with what they are sending? What about the parental configurations, privacy protection, and tracking information? How do I know this is safe for my child and family? It's not that I suspect the district is doing anything wrong, but the fact that they have not communicated with the people who matter proves that Arguello has a point when he talks about sloppy policy.
Yes.
I think the school district has for too long thought that it is the primary stakeholder in our children's education. That is not the case. The parents are the primary stakeholder, and this district reports to the parents. I think this is a great time to remind you all of that. By the way, the one group of people that I trust with expensive electronics less than my 6-year-old is the school board. Thank you. Thank you for wearing a
Emily Charente? What's that? Grits?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
That's a hard job, Chairman. Have to
Okay, Emily Grants, 1463 Fledgling Court. So I'm here to speak on behalf of OCEA about totally different topics, but I think I'm the only person in the room, if I'm not mistaken, that's actually a teacher that went through the New Teacher Center mentor program for 3 years. I feel like I walked into an alternate universe. Like, this, no, this is not what it is. It was 3 years of how do you help every kid? That's what it was. So that's not what I'm talking about tonight, but like, please, I want to talk to somebody about this because my mind is blown. It's a really good program. It is the reason I am still in Osceola because there were plenty of times when I was not going to stay. It's a really good program with really good people, with really good values that align with every child, every chance, every day. Like, I'm happy to talk to you about it. I really am. But I don't even know if we're talking about that tonight, honestly. So, what I'm here to talk about tonight is that I'm the East Side Elementary rep for OCEA. So I'm talking on behalf of the instructional and support personnel for our elementary East Side. And I wanted to hopefully thank you for approving the calendar concerns, but we didn't get there either, so I'm gonna move on to my other point, which is bargaining. I don't know if you guys are aware, I'm sure you are. I don't know if the public is aware. Your staff has been working for 10 weeks without a contract. We're annual contracts, like where else does that happen? Is there any other profession that is expected to go to work for an undisclosed amount of time until they have a contract? Like, that's madness. And it feels like it's unethical. And so part of it is like negotiations were supposed to start in May, the district postponed them until August. That's a huge problem. We can't solve that now and we can't go back in time. But that's something I think should be on the plate as we move through the school year and think about how do we do this better, because what kind of message are we sending? Bargaining is our time to send a message to the community and to say we respect and we care about our professionals. It's not just a thank you video in August and a donut in May. It's actually actionable policy that we can look back and say, this matters. So as a representative, I think instead of using my remaining seconds for my voice, I want to elevate a teacher voice. So this is coming from a second grade teacher. She says, finish contract negotiations, accept the offer, and please start ESP negotiations. They haven't even started yet. Not doing so perpetuates our belief that you feel educators are of little value. Dragging things out does not affect your family or your paycheck. However, for someone like me and my family who are trying to budget to keep a roof over our heads and food on our table, it is important. So please send the message that education matters. We're going to be watching this week. Please start negotiations and please wrap up teachers. Thank you.
Mr. Allen.
Yeah, because I got a boss, and she told me what to do, and I do. Well, that's the way my dad raised me.
Larry Adam, 722 Madden. Couple of issues. First issue. A couple weeks ago, I came here to tell you about the state of affairs with our VE teachers, varying exceptionalities in the pairs. I only had 3 minutes. That was nowhere near the time needed to paint a picture for you of what's happening at our Osceola County educators and how it affects the students and really the entire school. So what I did this week, I posted videos on our Facebook page, it's OCEA. So at your leisure, take a look, make yourself aware of what's happening and help these people who serve some of our most vulnerable students. We're burning out our people, and there is not a lot of people waiting to take their place. Some have left because the pressure on them is steadily increased. Some have stayed because they feel, they would be abandoning their kids, which are, their students, but they treat them like their kids. But there may soon come a time when self-preservation forces them out. We welcome increased pay. That's on the table for bargaining, but sometimes working conditions are just as important as pay. Please help them. Second issue. Evaluations. We live in a new world since COVID hit. The old way of evaluating our teachers and our ESPs has to be revisited. There are so many unintended and unanticipated consequences that we really need to get ahead of this problem. We have teachers right now willing to sit down with the district and craft solutions that work for the district and the employees. And believe it or not, these solutions will help our kids too, our students. Right now, we have employees stepping up to cover staffing shortages. They're doing what we try to teach our kids. They are helping each other. But it is to the detriment of their own assigned duties. They're not evaluated on how much they help the school by filling in where they're needed. They're evaluated on their own assigned duties. So let's get together ASAP and see what we can do for our kids. Has my time run out?
It didn't start.
They didn't start it, so.
That's awesome.
You got 3 minutes.
You don't get another 3. I don't know how long you usually ride on 3 minutes.
Yeah, I practice a little bit. But I probably shouldn't say anything I'm about to say because regardless of how I feel as an individual, I'm still looked at as the union president. May I suggest that we have a town hall where race is discussed openly, because the minute we mention it, oh my God, people lose their freaking minds. And we don't want anyone, I think Emily did a great job of explaining it. You know, somewhere, maybe it's in the Bible, I don't know, somewhere you meet people where they are, right? As teachers, we have all this differentiated instruction. We have all of this that we're taught to do, so we take this kid who's here, and we take this kid who's here, and we give each of them what they need. That's what we're trying to get across here. We want every kid to reach their full potential. That's in the statement, right? That's what we do. You have no idea the miracles these men and women do, ESPs and teachers, every doggone day to give their best to our kids, because that's what they are to us, our kids. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Lee, before you go. That concludes the ones I had. So, nobody's raising their hand, okay. That concludes our public comment portion of the meeting. Mr. Arguello, you got a comment?
Yeah, I just, normally we don't respond to the public comment, but Mr. Allen, I'm gonna call you out here. For one, I actually asked and requested that I meet with any groups, right?
You're right.
So on multiple occasions, I said, hey, you can gather as many teachers as you want. You can put me in handcuffs and have them all beat me up for as long as you need to.
That's not
You guys
our
haven't
style.
taken up on it, I know.
That's not our style, and I actually mentioned it at the last AR meeting, sir.
Right.
I'd love to speak to you about it.
All right, so the offer remains open, and it always will, as long as I'm here at least. The other thing is that you're talking about differentiated education, right? Getting a kid who's here and getting him up here, right? Whatever it takes, right? I am completely and full-heartedly in favor of that, right? But the reasons that he's here, right, and the way that you get him here shouldn't involve their race, or what color they are, right? My son is darker than you are, and I hope, hold on, I hope that when somebody says to my son, hey, I'm gonna make these assumptions about you because of what you look like, I would kick that door down over that. What I would want is for my son to be given, number one, an extremely high expectation for performance, and number two, every bit of resource and accommodation that he needs to achieve his potential. And I don't want them to consider race. I don't want them to consider that my son is this or that or whatever. I want them to consider the fact that he is a human, that he is a man, that he is an American.
Sir, I think you're missing the point, and I would love to sit down and have a beer with you, have a conversation about all of this, because there's been so much misinformation thrown around this room. It is not what it appears to be, what y'all are saying.
I love that opportunity. I'll take you up on it.
Let's not.
Beer on me.
All right, you good?
Yep.
All right, Mr. Krabbenbacher, you have nothing under your name. Do you have anything?
I am so pleased,
We can do this outside, we shouldn't do this in here.
I am so pleased to say I have nothing to report. support and respect.
Yeah, you win the award tonight. I don't know what it is, but you win. Unfinished business, we have none. Under new business, Mr. Aguilera, you had I won't get this right, resolution on government's.
Yep, got it, yep. So here's what I would like to add to new business, and here's what I would like for us to, Mr. Kroppenbacher and I to write a resolution together. The federal government recently put out, I think Ms. McKinney mentioned it today, about the School Board Association essentially discouraging parents from coming and commenting at school board meetings. I am diametrically opposed to that. The whole purpose of this meeting in public is so that they can come and speak. If they're not here to speak, then there's no point in anyone being elected, and there's no point in us having this meeting at all whatsoever. I would like to write the resolution that encourages community members, taxpayers, and parents to come speak at our meetings, let us know their will, and to always remind us that they are in charge and we work and report to them. That's what the resolution should say. That's what I would like to work on with our the board attorney to do with the consensus of the board. If the board says no, then I won't waste my time.
I guess my feeling is, we're open for public comments. We're open every meeting. I'm not sure why we need a resolution. I don't think we've ever told people they can't speak, at least.
Well, there have been instances where we have voted on policy that we weren't necessarily changing it, but we were making sure that it was better applied. And what this is just like the resolutions that we did earlier, it basically announced that this is gonna be Principals Month, October, right? So we didn't need to say that. Every month is Principals Month, right? We should be supporting them every month. So it's the same here. It's the same here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Earlier on, I heard, not here, but earlier when you spoke about it, you said you wanted the resolution to address this board's opposition to the administration.
That as well.
Okay, I want to make sure, administration asking telling parents not to come and talk.
No, I'm sorry. To clarify, what I wanted to do was basically, as I mentioned here, it was opposed to the administration, to our national administration's memorandum stating that they were right.
That's what you and I are in agreement on.
That's what I would, yes, so that's what I would like to, that's the referendum.
Ms. Castillo?
Okay. I don't think we have an issue in this board or even in this county with anyone speaking, as evidenced by the hours of public comment that happen every week. No one is opposed to it. I don't think that we need to do a resolution. We always want to point fingers towards people saying that X or Y thing are done because of political reasons. Why are we addressing something that's happening in the federal government that is clearly not affecting us? Every parent here was able to speak today. Every community member, people who don't live in this community are able to speak. Every time, without exception. I don't think anyone feels threatened at this moment, and I don't think that they ever will. So I think that it's superfluous. I don't understand why we even need to address it. Everyone here was able to speak. And I just don't understand. I don't see the need for it.
It feels very political to me. John, go ahead.
It is political. It's basically providing the parents and the community members with their political power that belongs to them.
But they have it.
So
Here they are.
if I may, so they are here, right?
Yeah.
But the principals should also, right, not have to fight for a month in which they're taken care of, right? Essentially, it was a symbolic, right, affirmation to the work they're doing in the district. What I would like to do is make a symbolic affirmation to the community members who take the time to come here and speak and who have passions about what they want to speak about. And so if you can support the teachers and the principals and so on, great, so do I. Why can't we also support the community? And it doesn't matter whether it's political or not, because we're just telling them and we're reaffirming to them that we encourage them to come in here and speak their mind. And sometimes we need to be reminded, who's in charge.
So that it won't happen.
We are reaffirming it here. Please come and speak your mind.
Whoa.
We're not.
One more thing.
Wait a minute, the board is having a discussion.
No, I understand, but I
Chairman,
can
you have to
write
stop
an
this.
email and it will take another week. But please,
No.
the reason why is because it's coming from the administration.
Please, we're not gonna-
Like the mask came from the administration and the reason why we are changing the rules for the government is because the administration said it.
The board, excuse me.
So
Excuse
that's
me,
what it has to be said.
sir. if this is the time, we've listened to you, it's the time the board gets to have a conversation amongst us.
Exactly why we need what Mr. Arguello said, that we need to be able to speak.
All right, I'm gonna have to ask anybody who's started addressing the board, nobody has stopped anybody from speaking. I'm gonna ask, if anybody starts shouting again, I'm gonna ask you to be removed. I'm sorry, I don't wanna go there, but we have the right as a board to discuss items amongst ourselves as well.
I'm going out there because that's the second time you threatened people in here.
I think that, since I've been here, we have changed where the speakers speak at what point in time in the agenda, right? It would be just that easy, which I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with what we did, but it would be just that easy to switch it and reduce it from 3 minutes to 1 minute. Or if you want to do this, you change it, you put it at the very end, or you vote first, or whatever you can do. We know that it's within our power. Why the resistance to a resolution affirming the public's right and encouraging them to come and speak? I'd like to know what the point of that is. There's no point to telling everyone, hey, no, we're not gonna make this resolution because, well, either because John said it, or because you guys can come whenever you want, except until I change my mind.
Board, what's your preference? I know what Ms. Castillo's is.
No, he has a right to just put it on the agenda for next meeting and we can actually vote on it.
Put a resolution on the agenda. I really don't care one way or the other.
All right, well, I'd like to hear everybody's answer. I'd like for, if you're gonna vote no, why? If we.
I'm probably not gonna support it because we're making political statements and it's done to put people in a bad
So
light.
that's 2-2
So if you
then.
don't support the resolution, you don't want people speaking.
So that's 2-2.
I resent that and I don't.
Understood, Mr. Chairman, thank you. That's 2-2. We have one board member outstanding.
Listen, I've been listening to other school districts, and the other school districts have been chipping. I'm sorry.
Can't hear ya.
My apologies, just give me a
He
second.
said he was sorry.
I'll have to speak louder. Anyways, I've been watching on television, all the other, Brevard County, Orange County, and there have been chipping away at the parents' public comment, trying to reduce the amount of time. I would never be, ever be in agreement with that. I think our 3 minutes is sufficient time, and if we have to sit here till 3 in the morning and listen to everyone, I'm willing to do it. I sit and write everyone's name down and all of their comments. So I'm an open door. I don't understand why we would have to reaffirm that because we have that. We already have it, and I will listen to anybody any time of the day. I don't understand why we have to put that in policy, because it is part of our policy.
Okay.
That's all.
All right, the political,
Yep, I got it.
Thank you, I can't get it out.
So, what I would like to do is also generate a referendum, not a referendum, I'm sorry, a resolution that would be on, first, I would like for the board to discuss an adoption of a school district policy that not only bans political ideologies being promoted, and again, I know that officially we have that, right? But I think in practice, the community has questions. At least the people here don't believe it, right? So I'm inclined to accept a district policy that not only bans political ideologies being promoted or taught in the classroom, but one that describes what that would look like, what ideologies should not be taught, what curriculum should be avoided, and describe what it means and what the consequences would be.
So you're talking about in the classroom?
I'm talking about district-wide, everywhere on campus.
Okay, I wasn't sure where this was going.
It's important for me to keep in mind that we have X number of hours with these students. We're asking teachers to do more and more. And until every student is performing at their very best, I don't think that we have the time or the space to be teaching ideologies. So again, based on the consensus of the board, a policy from the district that affirms the governor's stance on ideologies being promoted. Not necessarily the governor's, but one that basically prevents it.
Yes. Mr. Arguello?
Yes.
Could we encapsulate that into my research and I'll get with you?
Sure, as long as the consensus of the board is directed in that.
Then I'll discuss it, because I want to just look at all the different there's so many different ways these ideologies can filter in.
Yeah.
And I want to start with what the governor's.
Well, I'd love to
was.
write the resolution with you then, Mr. Attorney. If we can get consensus of the board, that'd be great.
If you want to research that. Because I think we have some stuff. I would assume your
We do,
research
but I
would
want to
include what we have.
Let's go back and.
I don't really know
do
quite
what
honestly what.
I was trained to do is learn. We have a governor's order. Want to read what that says. I want to talk with Florida Department of Education as to their interpretation. I want to match it up against our policies and look at the things that were reported here so that I can come back to you and seamlessly say, hey, we have an issue here, here, here. We don't have an issue here, here, here. And then it's your policy call after that. But we got to go back to the basics and really flush this out.
So again, without consensus of the board, though, I don't want to waste my time doing that, so if we can get a nod or what's going on here from everyone
I'm
else.
interpreting the board as authorizing me to legally research and come back and report on all of it,
What it is and where we're at.
where you're at, and then
I would kind of like to
what
know
I was
that,
saying,
because I think
Mr.
I did,
Aguayo,
I'm not sure.
I'll get with you because that may form the foundation for asking for a resolution that goes this way or goes that way. I don't know the answer.
I don't know that, yeah. Ms. Castillo?
I was just going to echo what you said before you said it. Yeah, I think it's important for us to know what the policy is versus what the governor has put forth and where those things match or don't match. But you said you were going to get with one board member. I would ask you to get with all of us.
I told him, I always talk with all of you, you know that.
Yeah.
What I said was I would talk with him about the concerns he has. The one thing I have learned in my career is that things, when you have a large organization, things can graze beyond what you think or know. And I'm gonna say something that I've said to each of you individually. Never assume your superintendent knows everything that's going on in a district of this size. I've represented a good 20 superintendents, and they're managing multiple issues and they're relying on multiple people. So let me do the research. You can all then be fully informed and you can make an informed judgment at that point.
In addition to that,
And
I
I'll
would
talk
ask,
to each of you about what I'm finding as I move along.
Ms. Castillo is next, and then Mr. Aguayo.
I would ask if you don't do that individually, that you do that in a board meeting.
Okay.
One. Two, I would also ask that this information is put in a place where everyone in the community can see it. So if you're doing a report of some sort, then it needs to be appended to our agenda so that when we do make our decisions, we are making them in a sound way where everybody can understand why we're doing it. So I would appreciate that.
The one thing I'll disagree with you on is, no one of you is gonna sway me any which way.
I'm not trying to
All right?
sway you, I'm just trying to make
And I may wanna
sure.
talk to an individual board member to see what they know or don't know as I look at these issues. He's heard things that you haven't heard, that he may have heard, that Clarence may have heard. I don't know, but I wanna make sure that I address every issue when I get back to this board.
Okay, I think you have a consensus there.
Perfect,
Ms.
thank you.
Aguayo,
Yeah, so one of the issues, if you look at this new teacher center, for example, right? So in that resolution, then I think that we should align ourselves with organizations that are apolitical, do not have an agenda, and are not gonna push ideologies with the district. So that would be part of the resolution, is to have vendors that are clean in terms of their goal and mission of providing our kids with education that is non-leaning and it's not motivated by agendas other than educating our kids to the best degree. So
We're basically, so yes, ideology during certain points, yes, we wanna make a statement that is political according to you, certain points, but then we also wanna strip that from other people.
which statement would be political?
You literally just said we need to make a political statement about people speaking in public, but then everybody else gets to be non-political, we need to pick a side. What are we doing here?
I think that you misunderstood the entire two previous items.
Of course.
Yes,
Of course.
so
I must have, of course, I must have. Thank you for clearing that out. I appreciate it.
So essentially, this is a policy that bans political ideologies, plural, being promoted, that describes, reiterates, and spells out what they look like and what the consequences would be. So It's about establishing a policy here where we have vendors, for example, that are apolitical, do not have an agenda, right? So yeah, this is a political action. We are politicians, we're all elected. I'm saying that what we do is that allow the politics to end here on the dais, and once you get into the classroom, that they be apolitical.
Are we gonna hold ourselves to that as well? Are we gonna be apolitical outside of the dais too?
I would say no, because you're a politician,
Okay,
right?
so it does not apply to us. We get to be political, but everybody else
Yes,
does not.
just like you get to wear a mask wherever you choose and not to wear a
We
mask.
got it.
Got it, your talking points, but I just want you to be
That's
clear.
not a talking point, that's your action.
No, my dear,
Yeah.
it is a talking point, okay? I would love to, I autograph that for you if you don't mind. I would love it.
Let's, we got it.
If I may, cause
Please do not approach.
she just
Please do
said,
not approach.
she has to autograph it, I came up.
Please step away from the
I
mic.
didn't mean right now.
She's my
Here you go.
fan.
Thank
Shouldn't
you
have said it
so
then.
much.
Thank you. She called me up.
I did not, but okay.
Let's
You
just,
said you'd autograph it.
let's just move on. Dr. Pace, you've got a question on dates?
Yes, as part of our strategic plan, we have made agreement that after the master board training, Carol Cook with FSBA was offered to hold it in January, let us wrap it up with a half-a-day follow-up in February. If you guys wanted to check your calendars, and we would be completed with that training at the June conference. We might suggest Thursday, January the 27th, I don't know if that works for anybody, I know she preferred that we stay away from Tuesdays. Those would both be in the district.
You just want to send me out and we'll look at
Yeah, can you do
our
that? Can you send us an email with those dates and let's?
Absolutely,
I'll give you
I
the
will, I'll send 2 dates, and if those don't work, you just let me know when some other dates would, but she said to stay away from Tuesdays.
John, you have no comment, because
I do.
I want to recess this and get on with our executive session. Go ahead.
So here's the thing, so we had a policy of this mask situation, right, that as far as I know, this is the day that it expires, right? So from this point on, we do not have any mask policy at all? Or can I get a clarification on that, because time's up. So Mr. Attorney, when does our policy end, and what does that mean? That leaves us back in the position where we were prior to there being a policy at
Which was
all?
about the same thing we had as a policy.
No, well, yeah, somewhat. So,
So,
When that policy expires, you do not have a policy.
correct. So as of right now then, because I think we said the 5th, then there is no longer a mask policy in Osceola County. It is optional.
That's correct.
Thank you very much.
we will recess the regular board meeting. We will reconvene in the finance conference room to discuss bargaining. And we will adjourn this meeting immediately after that upstairs. So we will not be coming back down here.
I have one item.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I do have one item.
Wait a minute.
Real quick.
Wait a minute.
You
I've already recessed this. I apologize.
You wait.
I'm sorry, Julius.